Herman's got the potential for some hail out of that, but that is not the tornado warning. Tornado warning is well to the southwest, nothing imminent into St. Louis. Bland would be right about here. If I'll zoom in a little bit more and get a better look at that. So that is in Gasconade County. That's our coverage area. There's Bland, right along Highway 28. So that would be an area that could get hit by this rotation, and it is just rotation at this point. There's potential for some golf ball size hail on this thing as well. But it's wrapped up pretty tight right there. What you're looking at is the green are raindrops going towards the radar, the red are raindrops going away. And right there, they're actually not passing each other like two cars on a highway. What's actually happening is they're rotating. So the radar is picking them up going this direction as it goes away from the radar, and then like this. And then as they spin around, the radar picks up the same raindrops coming towards the radar. So it helps me just pinpoint exactly where that rotation is, because it is a little bit messy when you just switch over to the kind of typical radar. And that, man, that rotation's, I mean, absolutely buried in rain right now. So this would not be something you'd want to be chasing. This would not be something chasers would want to be involved with, all that nasty rain right there. Again, just outside our coverage area, but coming in very shortly, probably in about 5 minutes into Gasconade County. Strong signature on radar. That's why we cut in briefly to golf and let them know, and that's why we're staying on here with the live coverage and continuous coverage. Meteorologist Leah Hill has been monitoring the other warnings that we have out there. Do you want to check in on those and kind of let people know what's going on?
Yeah, do you want to pop over there? Oh.
No, you can do it from right there. That's fine.
Yeah, I was actually just checking up on that severe warm storm that's been impacting Herman, Missouri, and getting the latest update. It looks like the hail core and just passed through Gasconade and Rhineland, so it just barely missed Herman. I'm going to zoom in on that storm right here.
Okay, and if I get any updates, by the way, on that tornado warning, I'll let you know. So you analyze that, and I'll keep people posted if anything new comes across here.
This is that hail core. I just circled it there on the screen. And I've been looking through our NWS chat. That's the chat that we have with media, meteorologists, TV like us, and also with the National Weather Service. They're the ones that issue the warnings. And I'm just waiting to see if they have given any reports of that storm. I haven't seen any. But what you can likely still expect with it is hail up to egg size. So just think your common egg that you get from the store. That we could see that with this particular storm that's just to the west of Herman, and they just updated the warning within the last couple seconds.
And that update you're talking about is Montgomery County, just outside our coverage area. But what's interesting is they're saying that the hail potential is about 1.5 inches. So 1.5 inches hail is about ping pong ball.
That is enough to do some damage.
That's, yeah. And actually, they just, the Rhineland in Montgomery County did actually report from train spotter, ping pong ball size hail. And that's what you're focused on there. Haven't heard any updates or reports on the rotation and possible tornado. That's kind of north of Vichy, southwest of Bland. Let's see.
That's storm near Union. We need to keep an eye on. It's showing a little signs of hail core along 50 near Union, Missouri. It's just north of 44.
I will tell you that out in Vichy, they have an airport, and they just reported 84 knots in miles per hour. I'm going to guess that's 93. I mean, that's really fast.
96.
96. There you go.
That is, I mean, those are winds that you see in a tornado. We're not saying that is a tornado that measured that winds, but that's as strong as tornado force winds, and that is still definitely enough to do some damage.
And that's an airport, well maintained site. What else you got going on over there? Anything else new? Leah, you got anything else new?
Let me see. Just checking the chat for latest updates.
So there's Vichy.
That's the latest one, yeah.
That's it. There's Vichy. Come on. There's Vichy don't know why the city keeps disappearing. And again, the airport out there, 84 knots, 96, you said, miles per hour. Okay, so that, as I look at the velocity, the Doppler wind data, I'm going back in time to see if this went over Vichy or just near. Super close, but most likely the tornado, so there's Vichy. This is old data now. Most likely a tornado back here, and this is where it is now. So that may have been a gust of wind coming. It's called the rear flank downdraft that comes out of the rear flank. So if the tornado's here, you get a wraparound wind this way. That's what's causing those brighter greens, and that creates those strong winds. 96. Okay, so where is that now, and where is it going? Here's where it is right now. That's the rotation. I'm going to broaden the rotation so that I include some of these winds down here. So the rotation be right here, but I want to include some of those winds that, if that site is correct, was 96 miles per hour, and push that off to the northeast at about 40 miles per hour, and you get some of the cities in the path. So looks like it looks relatively rural, but I don't know why Bland's not showing up there. If I zoom in, I know Bland's going to be very close. You're just outside. You're just on the northern flank. So there's Bland and Canaan right here, Highway 28. And you'll notice the trajectory that I drew has it going just south of you. So that's Gasconade County right there. They're still in Gulf right now, so we're going to continue our continuous live coverage here of the radar indicated tornado warning as it comes into Gasconade County. It's been expanded to include some other counties in our coverage area. Gasconade, northwestern Crawford, and that far southwestern corner of Franklin County. And we also have some storms up to the north. Leah's going to keep an eye on those. Let me know if you hear anything or see anything on those that you need to report. Pretty nasty storm too over Union and coming into Washington. This could go severe. If it did, it would most likely be a hail producer. Okay, hail and wind really. If I loop, the signature doesn't look as strong, but I hesitate. I hesitate on that a little bit just because it was so far away from the radar, so the radar's pinging off of a higher up and potentially fast-moving rotation in the storm, and not necessarily what's translating down to the ground, but still that higher up rotation, it's there. It's just about to cross into Gasconade County, but it doesn't look as intense at that level. And the question is it translating down to the low levels? Even if it's not, see how that brighter green and blue? Those are those real strong winds that came through Vichy, which is probably right about here, and produced that 96 mile an hour gust. So I think the focus here is really going to be, there's the northern part of Phelps County, southern part of Gasconade County, potential for some strong straight line winds, and also the potential for a tornado. The rotation is just south of Bland, or headed south of Bland, and it's going to cut through Gasconade County here. In about a half hour, if it holds its rotation, we'll be up near Franklin County. Okay, can we hop on? Ryan, is this a okay.
Live from the KMOV Broadcast Center, News 4 is in storm mode.
Quick update, the tornado warning was expanded. So that's the red box you see there, and that rotation is coming into Gasconade County right now. It is radar indicated. So we'll briefly interrupt, and then we'll keep our continuous coverage going on the live stream on the KMOV weather app and KMOV.com. As I zoom in, the red box again is the tornado warning. Rotation is right about here, now in southwestern Gasconade County, near and just south of Bland. Timing on this as it moves off to the northeast would be right around the Franklin County border in about 20 minutes. And I'll put a tracker on it to show you some of the cities in the path of the storm moving off to the northeast at about 40 miles an hour. You see some of the cities that it's going to hit in the next few minutes to the next half hour. Here's the thing too, the southern flank of this has the potential to do some damaging winds because when it came through Vichy right here, 96 mile per hour wind gust report. If that from an airport measuring station. So if that station's correct, that is really fast winds. just south of where the rotation is. We also have some warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings off to the northwest, impacting areas like New Haven and Blant and Herman and Gasconade, northwestern Franklin County, western Warren County as well. Potential for hail out of those. We do have these storms moving through the metro in about the next couple hours or so, 6 through about 8 to 9 p.m. We're going to have it come through St. Louis, and it's why we have a tornado watch until 10 o'clock. We're going to get you back to golf, but we'll have the live continuous updates on the live stream, KMOV.com and the KMOV weather app. Have a safe night. Thank you very much. Meteorologist Leah Hill's also monitoring things. Do you mind taking over and giving us any updates on what's new, what's been coming across?
Yeah.
You can do it from over there. You can just do it from there. That way I can hop on there when I need to.
Perfect. Yeah, so I've just actually been analyzing that one tornado warning that we have, the only one within our area. So I'm just going to pop up the information about it real quick so you can see it. The rotation I'm seeing a little bit lower in the atmosphere, so a little bit closer to the surface, but it looks like it's weakening, but I'm still seeing rotation when we kind of go up through the storms, looking at different tilts. So what that tells me is that there is still higher up rotation within that storm, but maybe some cycling going on at the surface. And this is all radar indicated. We don't have any reports of a tornado, and that warning is for Crawford, Franklin, and Gasconade County. It's in effect for the next 25
They did continue the warning, so that's always good to know that, hey, it's continuing. They're not canceling. They're not letting it go. So that means they're still seeing some rotation worthy of continuing that.
So that's probably what they were seeing, what I was seeing with, there were still definitely signs of rotation, maybe a little bit higher up in the storm, even though closer to the surface it weakened briefly. But if you look at it on radar, you can still see, I'm just going to pause it actually real quick. You can still see those winds spinning into the storm. They're going right about there. Oh, we're trying to create a little arrow, but it's not working very well. So there's still definitely some spin going on within that storm. And when it's moving about 35, 40 miles per hour?
Yeah, 40.
40 miles per hour. We're going to get the latest track on there. And if you know anybody within these counties, within the warnings, and maybe they're not watching us, make sure that they are aware that we are live on air, or live on the app, I should say. So in Sullivan within the next 38 minutes. But again, this storm is, that warning is only in effect for the next 25 minutes. Oak Hill, that's probably more in the path within the next
Southern
17
flank,
minutes.
big hail producer threat, big wind threat, and then the rotation is south of Bland.
South of Bland.
It's kind of in the northern portion. You've got it.
Kind of that little nudge.
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm thinking right now that
Control.
rotation looks a little weaker. Good news. And it's probably passing, and I'm talking just a couple miles south of Bland and Owensville in Gasconade County.
Perfect. And even like the tornado threat aside, hopefully everyone's just in their safe spot taking cover just because of the wind threat that we're still seeing within the storm, and then also the hail that we are seeing. It's large enough to be causing damage in addition to radar indicated rotation, no confirmed tornadoes, and then as well as that wind threat. We have been receiving around Vichy, for example, that's near Rolla, winds upwards of 97 miles per hour. And again, those are winds that are not associated with a potential tornado. That's just thunderstorm wind gusts that we are seeing. And that is strong enough to cause some damage, knock down some tree branches even. So that is a big concern with this storm as well. And that's also not the only storm that we are tracking. There's a couple more that are up to the northern part of Gasconade County. Near Herman, again, about to get hit with another hail core, and then just west of Warrenton, another severe warning storm, but the most intense part hasn't entered your area yet. And then Union, Missouri, I've been watching this storm carefully, and I've been analyzing it on radar because it has strengthened within the last couple of radar runs, and it's starting to develop a little bit of a hail core right here as well. So that is something that we'll be watching in case that there's a severe storm in Franklin County, but certainly the main risks that we are currently tracking is that tornado warning storm, and still in the northern part of what is that, Phelps County, Gasconade County, and Crawford County as well. Let's see if there's any updates.
Yeah, why don't you
That's
I
a new
hear that
severe
coming
thunderstorm
across.
warning.
Why don't you grab that? I'll take over, and I think it's going to be.
That's the storm I was just mentioning.
You were just on.
Franklin County.
Nice job. She's on it. Okay, so we now have two severe thunderstorm warnings, 1, 2, and 1 tornado warning there.
$50 size hail for that new one.
And that is, the core is really just southwest of Union right now. So core, if I switch over to the hail tracker, right here, it's coming right in. So folks in Union, heads up. And to Ryan and Deb, hey, we've got News 4 at 5 coming up here, so you'll have to let me know kind of what. Okay. And so that starts at 5, right? Will you let me know? Are you running an open? Okay. Okay. Just give me a heads up. So I'm coordinating with our producer and our director. What's going to happen is golf is going to end. We're going to continue on as long as we have a tornado warning. If that drops out, well, we'll hand it over to David Hamilotti, who's at the news desk patiently waiting, and get you the news of the day. But as long as we have that threat for a tornado. Do you want to turn off that alarm too?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. We got a little bell ringing in the back, and that lets us know when the new warning comes across. That new warning, by the way, is the severe thunderstorm warning that was issued right around Union is where it's coming in right now, and that's moving. They have it moving northeast pretty slow at 15 miles an hour, by the way, but $50 size hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds is going to be the threat on that. I'm going to check in on this tornado warning again, and I'm going to switch over to the Doppler winds. I'm going to loop this and kind of analyze. It's a weaker rotation, but it's right there. It's right there, and it has weakened quite a bit. You can see even the brightness down here, how bright it is, and then it kind of weakens. But remember, we're still seeing high up in the storm. The higher up you are, sometimes you see strong rotation that doesn't necessarily translate to down to the ground. And it's the down to the ground part, so it's right about there. It's the down to the ground part that matters to us because that's where actual damage happens. Nonetheless, this did produce, looks like 96-mile-per-hour winds in Vichy, which is just north of Rolla right there. So when that thing came through, it was doing it with some screaming winds. Okay, so if you're in Bland, we told you this was going to pass south of you and Owensville. So far, that is the case. There's Bland right there, the rotation right down here, and weaker. Owensville is right here. There's the rotation. It's going to come up and cross 19.
Steve, that storm near Bland, in our NWS chat, the chat that we have with the National Weather Service that we're all a part of, law enforcement sent in a report of tennis ball-sized hail.
Wow, okay. And was that near Bland or south of Bland?
They said near Bland.
Okay. My guess is south of Bland is where that core is. Because this is the hail tracker, Bland would be right about here. Looks like there's actually two cores. This one in coming out of northern Phelps County into northwestern Crawford. Check that, 3 cores, 1, 2, 3. And this little arching section of the storm is the one that produced those 96-mile-an-hour winds out in Vichy. Okay, so we have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings here. Hail, maybe some winds around 60 miles an hour. I think the bigger, more likely threat is hail out of those. 1 in Union right now. And then we have Doppler indicated tornado warning there. Let me show you how much lightning is coming out of this too. Tremendous. This is coming our way. So we're going to have some disruption to some outdoor activities as we head into the evening. And then here's that line. I'm going to have to kind of redraw. This is the line that's going to make it into St. Louis. That line, it's a broken line because it's made up of some segments that are kind of merging together as we speak. Thank you, Deb. I appreciate that, and I heard you. But at 40 miles an hour, you know, that puts it into St. Louis in about an hour and a half. You ready, Leah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Live from the KMOV Broadcast Center, News 4 is in storm mode.
We'll monitor golf for you, but we also want to get you the update on the radar indicated tornado warning. It's right here in that red box. We have a couple severe thunderstorm warnings for hail, one in Union right now. But what has our attention is the rotation and possible tornado that is now into around Gasconade County, southern Gasconade County. It's a big red box here, but the actual rotation is right about here. And see how this tails down? This little tail right here, when it came through Vichy, produced 96-mile-per-hour winds. Also, anywhere from around that circle where the rotation is, it's all buried in rain, so you wouldn't even be able to see the tornado if it was developing. But anywhere in here not only has the potential for the strong winds, but also very large hail. And there was a report, meteorologist Leah Hill is here with me too. Leah, what was the report from near Bland? Was it tennis ball?
Tennis ball.
Tennis ball size hail. Okay, so let's start with pinpointing that rotation a little better. I'm going to switch over to the Doppler winds. That helps me see where that rotation is. So there's Canaan, Bland would be here, Owensville would be here. So that rotation's passing south of those towns. This is southern Gasconade County. This is Crawford County down here, and here's the rotation. And that moves off to the northeast. Let's get a track on this. In the next 45 minutes and pushing it at about 40 miles per hour. That puts it in some of these towns at these times. You see Union, which is getting hit right now, by the way, in about 45 minutes. So that's important for our friends in Union because you're getting hit by a storm now that's probably producing some hail, definitely a downpour, and maybe in about 45 minutes, this storm, if it's still rotating, comes through. Even if it's not rotating, there's still that threat for large hail, damaging winds. So I think you're going to get hit yet again. That's a town earlier today that had some small hail as well. But this is the main show now. Now through the evening is the main show as far as the severe threat. And again, that rotation focused right here in southern Gasconade County. I'm also going to just put a trajectory on it like this to just give you an idea of if it followed that exact trajectory. It's missing Sullivan. You're okay, but let's zoom in on Franklin County and towards Union, but south of Gerald. So Gerald, pay attention to this, but most likely the rotation missing you to the south. The stronger winds, by the way, are on the southern flank of this and the potential for hail. In fact, I'm going to switch over to the radar. Yeah. So I was pinpointing rotation right around here, but see all that purple and white showing up there? There's a threat for some really strong winds and some very large hail there. And that could get into Sullivan. So I want to give you a timing on that too. Now we're talking about 22 minutes into Sullivan. So we're coming through the northwestern part of Crawford County and we're coming up into Franklin County. There's the rotation, southern Gasconade County. That could hit Union in about 40-45 minutes. All very short term. I always like to focus on that right away for you. But then let's get you an idea when this could possibly be in St. Louis. And I want to loop this so I get an idea. Is this guy moving more north? No, that's a pretty nasty little isolated storm out ahead. That's moving more northeast. So we have coming into St. Louis Metro, we'll have to watch this isolated cell. That's moving much more slowly. That's moving only about 15 miles per hour. So I would say also around Union, let's be careful for some maybe short-term flooding because if that thing's moving so slow and producing such prodigious amounts of rain, that could create some brief short-term flooding right there on Highway 50 and eventually coming into Interstate 44. Meteorologist Leah Hill is with me too, and I hear some dings from our instant message chat with the National Weather Service. You want to get us updated on anything new?
The good news about the hail risk that we are seeing in Franklin County, that storm that's near Union, is the only reports that we're getting is pea-size hail.
Okay.
Which is great news to see. But then the one just to the west of it that's impacting, I guess that's the, that'd be the southwest Franklin County, Gasconade, Montgomery, Warren.
Yep.
They're still getting reports of 1.25 inches, which is $half size hail.
Oh, you're talking about the one farther to the northwest, like
Yeah, there's
up there? That one's moving more north though. So here's what's going to happen. These isolated cells like the one in Union and this one it's actually kind of getting out of Warren, it hit Herman. These are just isolated cells out ahead of the main line. They're going to get absorbed by this main line. And by the time this comes into St. Louis, barring another pop-up storm like this, I think they're all going to merge, and it may be kind of a broken line, but it's going to be a line coming through that's going to disrupt some evening plans here. And I wanted to give you a time on at least this section. Remember, this is moving really slow, so it's kind of hard for me to time and see if this is going to peter out. But generally, this is near and east of Washington, maybe comes up into southern St. Charles County. But this gets into St. Louis, right around Melville, Oakville, South County area, near Arnold, in about hour 20, hour 30. So it gives you an idea of timing on this really strong line right here that probably will end up absorbing a lot of these isolated cells. This one for sure is going to get absorbed. I've focused on kind of timing here for the metro and some short-term timing on where the specific rotation in southern Gasconade County is headed. But I also want to make sure you get an idea of kind of the big picture here. So let me zoom out. And this is the main show right here, and any of these isolated storms that pop up out ahead of it. Once this hits, there may be some showers and storms behind it, but once that hits, and you can see some of those showers and storms behind it, but once this leading edge hits or any isolated storms out ahead of it, that's the severe threat. So I do not expect to be dealing in St. Louis with this severe threat throughout the entire evening. I would say 6 to 8, 6 to maybe 9 in the Metro East, and it should clear us pretty quickly. But in those next 2-3 hours or so, we'll have to be on guard for damaging winds, large hail, and even a tornado. We do have a tornado watch. That goes until 10 o'clock across St. Louis. Gasconade and Phelps are in a severe thunderstorm watch until 7. But even a severe thunderstorm watch, sometimes you can get a tornado to pop up. And that is why we're on the air right now, by the way, as we have a tornado warning that continues really in Gasconade County is where the rotation is. Crawford and Franklin are in it as well, though. So let's get focused back on that. We gave you an idea of timing to the metro, big picture. Let's show you what's going on here. And Leah, just let me know if anything comes across on chat or new warnings that our friends need to know about. Okay, I'm seeing that rotation. It's weaker than it was earlier when it was out near Vichy, produced 96 mile an hour wind gusts. That was south of the rotation, so that very well may be straight line winds. But that rotation looks to be weakening. I can't see it real well there, so let's take a look at the Doppler winds. And it's just north of Oak Hill, right in here. And I'm going to loop it kind of back and forth to get a trajectory.
I do have some reports coming out of Vichy now. Some public reported that there were 3-inch tree limbs broken and even some power poles, so likely we're going to be dealing with some power outages there.
Okay. If you're not familiar, Vichy's north of Rolla, just outside our coverage area, but the reason we're mentioning it is because that storm that is in our coverage area, in fact, it's south of where the rotation, so there's a rotation, so the area hitting Cuba right now and riding up 44 towards Sullivan, that's the area that produced a 96 mile an hour wind. Now, if I pinpointed where I think that best chance is, it's actually north of Cuba, right here. See that little bowing that's happening? That, to me, is saying, hey, there's some really strong winds right here, and that's why we're getting probably rain and hail out of this thrust out in the middle portion because the winds are so strong, so it gets thrust out ahead of the north and south flanks here. And this whole little thing here where you see purple, all of that can be producing some hail. Recently on the northern flank, we had reports near Bland of tennis ball size hail. So we did have a report of large hail out of it. We have had a report of 96 mile an hour winds. That was earlier. We don't know if it's doing it now. But if it is, I want to give you an idea of where that's headed next, because I have been focusing a lot on rotation. But this whole storm can produce other facets of severe weather, damaging winds, and of course the hail. So there you go. Puts it in Sullivan in now 18 minutes. Again, Cuba, I know you're getting hit now. I think the worst of it is probably to the north of you, right in this section for the best chance of straight line winds, and then this whole purple area potential for hail. So we were tracking the rotation. We did that for you into Union, which is getting hit now by a different storm. And then here's the southern flank of the storm that has the potential to produce some straight line damaging winds and of course some hail as well. As I zoom in, you'll see Sullivan show up there in southern Franklin County. And in fact, let's get the cities off and just put an arrow tracker. I mean, we're now down to about 15 minutes. So that's going to come your way pretty quickly. So what do you do when you're hearing straight line wind damage, maybe 96 mile an hour winds in Sullivan, inside, away from windows? when we're talking a potential of 90+ mile-an-hour winds, and that's if that sensor at Vichy was correct, but still, if we're talking high-end winds like that, it's probably best to do what you would do if there was a tornado, which would be get down into the basement, especially because a tree can get knocked down and come into the first level or second level of the home. Just play it safe rather than sorry when that comes through in about 15 minutes in Sullivan or some of the other cities that we mentioned along that path there. And this whole section of the line, so now I'm including the rotation and I'm including where there's hail. So bigger area here, right? Shows you some of the cities like Japan, 8 minutes, West Sullivan to Sullivan, again, about 15 minutes. St. Clair in about 37 minutes. So there's St. Clair. You're missing the storm that's hitting Union right now. We also have storm mode Silverado that's on the road. Where do we have it, guys? Where do we have storm mode? They're currently out by Eureka, so they're on 44. And let me loop this to make sure they're in a good spot. You can see that picture on the left-hand side. So this storm is not rotating, not producing a tornado. We're going to have to keep an eye on that for our friends that are in Eureka in the storm mode Silverado. And they have radar in there, and we'll monitor them, make sure they're in a safe position. Right now, that's more likely than not just a hail producer. But I did mention, maybe some short-term flooding. I mean, this thing's barely moving. The line out here is moving at about 40 miles an hour. This is moving at about 15 miles an hour. So the line is going to catch up, absorb this cell, and it's going to, when it comes through St. Louis, really just be one line that moves through the area. I've got some I thought I had some right there. I'll take that. Thank you. So we're going to be tracking this cell as it moves to the northeast 15, as it merges with this, probably the strongest part of this whole line is right here. And what I like to see, as you kind of back out a little bit, is I haven't seen anything strengthen so far along that line. And if I put the warnings on, these have weakened quite a bit. Those were hail producers. This one, I think, still has the potential to produce hail. But outside of this that's coming towards Sullivan, out of Gasconade into southwestern Franklin, I'm not seeing any strengthening here. I do see that in southern Phelps, and these we'll have to watch as that comes in from the southern flank into, again, Crawford and Washington. I think right now the bigger focus is seeing if this storm, the rotation strengthens or not. And at this point, I'm not seeing that strengthen. I'm just seeing it still rotating. And again, radar indicated. We're always trying to be transparent with you and let you know what we're seeing. Doppler indicated rotation here. That's why we're on the air as this moves into Franklin County, and eventually that rotation is going to miss Sullivan. Remember, the rotation's missing Sullivan. The southern flank that has potential for damaging winds, that's going to be near you, but that's in about 17 minutes northwest of Sullivan. And then that southern flank, so I'm going to highlight that rotation right there. And then that southern flank there, that is in Sullivan in about 11 minutes. Missouri Baptist Sullivan, is that, Leah, is that good to go or is that out?
Oh, the Missouri Baptist Sullivan?
Yeah.
Let me get that up real quick.
No, that's our BJC Skycam. Yeah, I think that one's out.
That one seems down.
Let's keep an eye on those cams, though, please. I appreciate it. So big picture here. We've been zooming in, showing you specifics, kind of two facets of this storm that has a tornado warning on it. Still has rotation, but it's much weaker. And as that moves towards and north of Sullivan, they've now extended into a severe thunderstorm warning. That's really good. That means National Weather Service is seeing that weakening rotation. And just because the storm's rotating doesn't mean it needs a tornado warning. It has to be strong enough rotation to really warrant it. So a storm can rotate above the ground and not do anything on the ground and no damage. But we know that this storm, whether the rotation's strong or weak, has potential for large hail and damaging winds. And that's why that yellow box is a brand new severe thunderstorm warning. It's also interesting to note, we've mentioned this a couple times, that the folks in Union may get hit twice. You're getting hit now. Your current severe thunderstorm warning actually overlaps with the new one now, because this is the storm coming. So bottom line is, I think this tornado warning is going to be allowed to expire. Can you check in on chat and see if they've mentioned anything on that?
On the tornado warning?
Yeah, if they were going to allow it to expire. It goes off in just a minute or so. I imagine so.
Yeah, I would imagine so. They're still saying 70-mile-per-hour winds with that storm, and they were saying that is observed, the wind threat, and hail up to 2 inches, which should be
2 inches. Egg size?
egg size.
Yeah, I believe so. And so the storm that they're talking about is right here. And I'm just going to check that rotation one more time. Yeah, it's still rotating weekly. So what I'm going to do is, instead of focusing so much on rotation, and you'll see us at times put the images of the storm old Silverado up, they're on 44 up here near Eureka, and they're going to get close to that storm that potentially in Union is producing some hail, probably is producing at least some hail. But what I'm going to do is, on this storm, I'm going to track this entire section of the storm that has the potential, based on the radar signature, for the real strong winds and hail.
They did just drop the tornado warning.
Perfect. Perfect. Bourbon, 6 minutes. Sullivan in about 12, 15. It's got to be, let me get an updated. Oh, here's the deal in Sullivan. You're going to get rain first. So what's happened here is that rain has come out ahead of where the strongest winds are. And I see why once I loop it. So here's the strongest winds right here. And then notice this stuff blossoming out ahead. It's getting absorbed by the line, but you're going to get rain in Sullivan before the stronger winds, which is now about 12 minutes or so. So let's put another track on that. That's another live look from storm mode Silverado. We got our crews out. They're just past Eureka. And Deb, they should be on radar and checking, but will you just make sure they know that there's a heavy storm, severe thunderstorm warning, potential for some hail right around Highway 50 and 44? Okay, 40 miles an hour. So Sullivan now 8 minutes, Stanton in about 14 minutes, St. Clair in about 25 minutes. That would put it in about 32 minutes or so into Union, which is right here. That's the cell that I was telling our crew, like, hey, you're going to get a little close to that. So they may actually want to kind of pull off and sit tight and let the core of that storm pass north of 44. But what I've done here is on this other storm that has the potential for those 70-mile-an-hour winds. Isn't that right, Leah, you were saying?
7-mile-per-hour winds.
And huge hail, too. That's the track of this section of the storm that has that potential. So we're talking Bourbon, be inside, away from windows. You're getting into 70-mile-an-hour winds. We had a report, and if it verifies from that airport in Vichy, which is north of Rolla, by the way, and that's where this storm rolled over, 96 miles per hour. But, we're talking about high-end winds here. So if you feel like your normal severe thunderstorm warning procedures and safety, which is just inside and away from windows, if you feel like that's not quite enough, if that makes you a little nervous to hear 70-mile-an-hour winds, potential, maybe even higher, go ahead and just do what you do for a tornado. Get down to the basement. There's no reason to be scared by this. Just be prepared. You're getting the warning. You know what to do. And let's let the winds howl through, and hopefully they don't do too much damage. But you at least see the timing. And again, not necessarily when the rain enters your neighborhood, but when those stronger winds enter your neighborhood. And I'm just continuing to check the Doppler winds. I think the strongest winds are probably going to come right at around Sullivan. That southern flank looks to be pretty strong, but anywhere in this area right here, but especially what I'm seeing, see how it kind of bows out a little bit right there? So that's what I'm seeing is hail cores, which you see in purple, and then anywhere along that line I've drawn, which is out ahead. And the reason why it's out ahead is because when this heavy rain and hail hits the ground, it splatters. And when it splatters, it makes a gust. So the gust actually is just out ahead of where on radar you see the heaviest rain is. So I'm trying to anticipate out ahead of where the heavy rain is, where the strong winds are. And I would say you're talking about a matter of minutes now into Sullivan. And at about, 40 miles an hour, we're now talking about 5 minutes. So Sullivan, inside, away from windows. If you feel like the higher end threat of these winds means maybe head to the basement, go ahead and do that. And if you do that and you don't have a TV down there, we've got the KMOV weather app. We're live streaming on there, KMOV.com as well. And we'll just get you through this, and hopefully we don't have too much damage. Actually, other than Vichy, I haven't heard of any damage come through recently. Is that right, Leah?
I have not seen any. I do want to let you know that the severe thunderstorm warning that's in Gasconade, Crawford, and Union counties. They're maintaining the tornado possible tag on that storm. So there's no confirmation of a tornado, but they are still seeing some weak signs of rotation, which is why they're keeping the tornado possible tag on there. But their main concern right now is for straight line winds and even winds blowing those hailstorms with them, and that storm has a history of large hail. So picture large hail being blown around because of the high winds, and we had that report earlier of 96, 97 mile per hour winds there.
You make
Hopefully
a
they've weakened.
really good point, Leah, about, if you have hail, that's one thing. If you have hail with a 60, 70 mile an hour gust, that actually enhances the hail damage. The good news is that most of the time, people don't get hurt by hail because you see the dark skies, you get the alert on the KMOV weather app, you get indoors. So most of the time, at least, people don't get hurt by hail. But the winds that gust out ahead of the rain sometimes can take down tree limbs, tree branches, and even worse in some cases, whole trees. And so that's why we're sitting here warning you on this. Is this new severe thunderstorm warning encompasses almost 30,000 people, 29,000 people in it from Crawford, Franklin, Gasconade, and Washington counties. That's going to go until 6 o'clock, and that's the one that Leah was saying. The National Weather Service put a tornado possible tag, and what that means is they issue these severe thunderstorm warnings, and they'll say, hey, we've seen some rotation and we're watching it, so it kind of escalates it to a level of let's keep a close eye on this in case we get a spin-up tornado along that storm, just to make sure that we're vigilant and paying attention. And on the other severe thunderstorm warning, we do not have that. That one affects 26,000 people, and it's largely over Union, by the way, right now. And I'll zoom in on that and show you what's going on. So right now we have actually 3 severe thunderstorm warnings because part of Phelps County is also now in a severe thunderstorm warning down here. So, and that may extend. So if you're in Crawford, you may be back into another severe thunderstorm warning, Reynolds, Iron, and eventually into Washington. Here's the storm that is a really tight, small little storm, but probably producing some hail. If I switch over to our hail tracker, it gives you an idea where the core is, and it is just past Union now. And I'm surprised we actually haven't heard any reports out.
I actually just have a report from that one.
Go ahead.
It's unconfirmed, but someone posted on my Facebook page that they had a large hail. I believe it was golf ball or baseball size.
Okay.
I'll have to go back and verify that, but large hail.
So one of those public reports where we take it, with a little bit of a grain of salt versus a trained spotter, but still, we love getting those reports. We love the ground truth to know what we're dealing with. We've had a warning on this, talking about it, and now we're hearing some reports and maybe even a picture to actually verify it, ground truth of some hail out of this. But there's a potential for some large hail now on the east side of town. Deb, if they are near... They've stopped in Pacific. Okay, I think they're going to be... I'm talking to Deb, my director, because I want to make sure our crews that are out here in Pacific don't get hit by a hailstorm here. This is going to come up into Gray Summit. I'm telling you, this thing's moving really slow, 15 miles per hour or so. So I'm not going to track it because, at 15 miles per hour, maybe in the next, 15, 20 minutes, you get that core right there to come into Gray Summit, and that's about it. Let's see if it even holds together that long. But our friends and our crew in the storm mode Silverado that's in Pacific, I think they're in a good spot for now. And also, just make sure they have an exit route to the south. That way they can just avoid that hail. So if that hail does kind of curve up and turn a little bit to the north and get Pacific, we want our friends to be able to get south in the storm mode Silverado there. We do have a live look from the storm mode Silverado. You see where they pulled over, dark skies. We had the dark skies in the morning, then we got the sun. The sun heated things up, brought in that storm fuel needed for the front. And what we're dealing with now is what we called earlier the week, the main show. We told you, hey, there'll be a few storms in the morning, but the main show, the main severe threat is going to be that late day and evening, and here we are. Dealing with hail storms and potentially some really strong winds. Let's zoom down a little bit more, and you're going to see a couple hail cores here. I still think not just hail, but wind threat, which I'll detail in a second, but you see a couple hail cores out of this storm that could produce some very large hail. Earlier, it was a little earlier, but it had tennis ball size hail near and south of Bland. Bland's right about here. That portion of the storm has fizzled, and now the core's a little south. And that's what happens with these hailstorms. Oftentimes they dump, they hit all the hail hits the ground, and then it's done, and another updraft has to generate another core, and then it dumps its hail. And so you end up with these cores that fizzle out, new one pops up, fizzles out, new one pops up. And it looks like the two going right now are weakening as they come in up 44 towards Sullivan right now. Again, that's hail tracker, just helps you pinpoint where the hail cores are, but there's also a threat for some strong damaging winds on this storm as well, and it's into Sullivan now. What you're looking at if there's rotation, remember we said this severe thunderstorm warning has tornado possible. It would be right back here, but not strong enough for the Weather Service to issue a new tornado warning on this. And the tornado warning that came through our area has been radar indicated. We're always transparent, let you know what we're seeing and if there's any ground truth to it, but so far radar indicated. And radar indicates rotation up above the ground. But see all that bright green? Those are raindrops that are the radars in Weldon Spring this way. The raindrops are rushing up towards the radar, and that's the Doppler in Doppler radar because it can help detect the speed and the direction that these storms are moving. And so potentially some really strong winds coming into Sullivan. And of course, we've had a lot of hail. Meteorologist Leah Hill has been checking in on some of the reports that we've been getting on the hail.
I actually just got one of those pictures in from a spotter who's out in Union, Missouri. He gave me the report earlier. It actually was golf ball size hail, but there's that photo, and it looks just like a blanket of snow almost on the ground. And this hail in this particular picture is small hail, but it's just it's blanketing the ground, and it's kind of difficult to see, but they actually covered their windshields with some cardboard boxes just to protect it from that hail. And given the history of these storms to produce large hail, we've gotten reports of tennis ball size hail for some of those storms that were down to the southwest near, I believe it was Vichy, and even golf ball size hail. That's enough to cause some damage and some dents in your car. So they did the right thing, thinking ahead and putting some cardboard boxes to hopefully protect their car just a little bit.
And that was from Union, right?
That was from Union, Missouri.
So great to get the ground truth from that. We also have from amateur radio reporting of quarter-size hail. So that's not huge, but that's the threshold that can do damage, quarter size or bigger. And that's coming from Sullivan. So the storm that Leah just showed you a picture from is actually that storm right there in Union.
It's remaining static.
It is, isn't it? That's not static enough that I'm overly concerned about flooding, but I at least mentioned it because it's moving so slow that, if you're in this Union area, just be aware that maybe there's, especially Highway 50 to right around 44, there could be some short-term flooding, ponding on the roadways, that sort of thing. But that picture was from that storm. Then we have quarter-size hail being reported out of Sullivan. And again, in Sullivan, indoors away from windows, potential for some strong winds. Winds may be pretty intense, maybe even 70 miles an hour, possibly greater. I think probably 60 to 70 based on what I'm seeing on radar. If you don't feel comfortable in your safe location from a severe thunderstorm, which usually isn't the basement, it's just inside away from windows, and you think, hey, he's saying higher end winds, maybe we should go to the basement just to play it safe, go for it. Whatever makes you feel comfortable, we'll get through this and just let you know that there is a potential for 70-mile-an-hour winds that can take down huge tree limbs and sometimes trees, and that's hitting Sullivan right now. I'm going to try to pinpoint more specifically where exactly that is. And still see some, it's got a gnarly little storm here. I mean, it's still been rotating on the backside, but not intense enough. Right there, those green blips you see going towards the radar, the red is going away. So there's still some rotation. Storms rotate all the time, not all the time, but storms rotate a lot. They're called supercells. That doesn't mean that they are going to produce a tornado, but supercells do produce some of the strongest winds and some of the largest hail, and that one's not rotating strongly enough to produce or warrant a tornado warning at this point. Storm mode Silverado on the left-hand side of your screen. I'm in Pacific right now, and let me just make sure that I would tell them to maybe head south about 5 miles. There's a southern flank of that storm in Pacific that I don't like, and I don't want them to get hit by, and I'll explain what that is in a second. Thank you to Deb. I'm talking to Deb, my director, and we're repositioning our crews, making sure, look, we want them nearby if there's hail to show you pictures, show you damage. We don't want them in it. But we want the ground truth so that if we're here on the air telling you that there's potential for this, showing you actually helps a lot of people who the storm's going to next take it more seriously too. But we also want to show you. So trying to pinpoint the strongest winds, it's pretty much right in Sullivan now. It's pretty compact and hitting Sullivan, and it's right in here. That's where the strongest winds are going to be. If I flip over to the regular radar, it's not much of a bow echo, but it bows out a little bit here. But hail, strong winds, And then we're just watching that northern flank north of Sullivan. By the way, when I mentioned that rotation, it is north of you, and it's going to miss Sullivan to the north. But we're watching that section of the storm as well. I mentioned, so I've been focused a lot on these two storms. I want to zoom out and give you the big picture here, because we do have some warnings down in southern Phelps. That's severe thunderstorm warnings. We'll see if that gets extended. But otherwise, the two storms we focused on are one just east of Union and the other hitting Sullivan now. And eventually, this is all going to merge. What I have noticed is nothing really flaring up on this northern section of the line. So if you're in Warren County and Lincoln County, and I haven't mentioned you, that's good. If I don't mention your city, that's a really good thing. So while I have been focusing on the two areas where the best potential for damage is, up to the north, I'm not seeing anything real severe. I do think there's a potential farther south and that's our crew that is moving south of Pacific, by the way. So we'll keep John and Chris safe as they go south of that. I think that's John and Chris that are out in the, it's Alex and Chuck. Okay, Alex Gall and Chuck are in the storm-mode Silverado. So I showed you up north where I don't see anything strong severe. I do see the southern flank of this storm that is in Crawford coming into Washington County. We'll see if that strengthens. That looks strong, but not warranting a severe thunderstorm warning at this point. So that's our big focus, and of course the one east of Union. And I'm monitoring this. And Leah, will you keep an eye on that too, just in case we do get a warning? I want to pop on and let them know. But
Which county? Is that Gasconade?
the southern flank of this line, which would be Crawford coming into Washington.
Okay.
Yeah. And eventually that would hit into Jefferson. But right now it's really this storm coming through Sullivan that will go through Franklin into Jefferson, St. Charles County. I focus a lot on the specifics, so folks who are in the urgent, immediate danger of this storm know exactly what's going on, but I want to make sure that you get the idea of where this would hit in St. Louis. By the way, we're at about 5:30 right now, and I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We're doing live first alert storm mode coverage. We had a tornado warning earlier. We haven't heard reports of any damage. It was radar indicated. But we did have on this storm a report from Vichy, just north of Rolla, of 96 mile an hour winds. Weather Service severe thunderstorm warning on it has the potential up to 70 and some very large hail. We've also just gotten a new severe thunderstorm warning, and I was just saying how I want to give folks a heads up on where this could go into the metro a little longer term. And you notice that severe thunderstorm warning does go into St. Louis County. And I'm going to get an idea of the speed on that. I don't think it's sped up too much. Well, they have moving northeast at 40, and if that's the case, that thing has increased in speed a little bit.
It's also ping pong ball size hail, they're saying with that one, and 60 mile per hour winds.
Okay, and no reports of rotation on this. This is the storm, by the way, that we just moved our friends in Pacific right here. We told them to go a little bit south. And that's because of the southern, see how there's southern flank of that? So we're just moving them south. That means Pacific, you're going to get hit by this. The core of it really looks to be along and north of 44. And I just really want to get a good, especially with that coming right into, that's a live, there's a live look. And that's one of our BJC Skycam networks. That's looking west towards Clayton. See all the dark skies there? Okay, so let me just backtrack that. We'll go just a half hour. What I'm going to do here is try and get an idea of the speed, because it did start moving. Not much, though. I would say that's still about 60. It's not moving at 40 miles per hour. We'll push it at about 20 if it's speeding up a little bit. So what I wanted to do was get a more accurate track on this for you. And it really is not moving very fast. So along 44, coming into Pacific, potential maybe for some short-term flooding, hail, and damaging winds. And let's push it at just about 20. Wildwood in about 9 minutes. There's Wildwood. Grover, 13 minutes. Pacific in about 17 minutes. And then you see Ellisville and Baldwin. We'll see if it holds together. It also may be moving so slow it gets absorbed by the bigger line farther to the west, which as I zoom out, you'll see that right here. Meteorologist Leah Hill is with us as well. She's been monitoring our instant message chat with the National Weather Service, checking in on any kind of new warnings, getting the updates on where that is, where it's headed, some of the cities in the path, the speed and whatnot too. Do you have anything new coming in from the Weather Center?
Yeah, just within the last couple of minutes, one of our partners at the National Weather Center, they said they're watching for the storms to continue to grow. As we can see already, they're forming a line segment and they're strengthening as they form that line. But they're saying that the best short-term tornado potential is in the northern portion of that Boeing segment that you can see here near Sullivan. And we do know that it is severe warned, but we can get these little embedded notches within those storms in these little small-scale areas of rotation. And that's what we have to watch for potential tornado development. So I haven't seen any reports. Looks like they're just sending out a new severe thunderstorm warning, and they're saying that a tornado is possible with it. So nothing confirmed, radar indicated. There is some signs of rotation, but still certainly the main threat with that storm is going to be the winds, 70 miles per hour winds, they're saying, and 1.5 inch hail. If I look at my size, that's ping pong ball size.
Yeah, that's big hail and that's strong winds. So let me break down what she just said. She's basically saying that the strongest storm in our area, even though that is a severe thunderstorm warning, potential for some hail, strongest storm's right here. And it's hitting Sullivan now. It also has the potential to turn into a tornado warning because it is rotating, but it's not a tornado warning right now, so it's not rotating strongly enough. Radar notices rotation up above, and if we see it really strong up above, then we assume maybe it's translating down to the ground, because the ground is what matters. Where we are, damage-wise, is what matters, not what's above the ground. So right now, it's rotating up above the ground, not on the ground. Let's watch it closely, and I'll show you. You can see this thing spinning. Let me show you the radar Doppler winds here. I'll zoom back in for you. And you'll see exactly where that location is, where it's spinning. And there's no tornado warning on this, but should it intensify, the section where it is rotating is actually buried in rain. So this is not something in southern Franklin County that folks want to go out and see. And don't forget, too, there's a threat for real strong 70-mile-an-hour winds and large hail out of this as well. I am going to slow the loop down here a little bit so you can see this, but you can almost see the red kind of curl around the green. Notice how the red curls around the green. So this storm is spinning, and what that red is it's raindrops that are going away from the radar, and then the green are raindrops that are going towards. So if you can imagine it like this, and then the green are raindrops that are going towards. That is a broad or large rotation. Typically, when you have a tornado warning, you have a much smaller area. And so we'll have to see if it tightens up. When things tighten up above the ground, then you know there's potential for it to be producing damage and spinning strongly enough on the ground. But that would be exactly where it is, and you can almost kind of see the rotation in there. And that is now moving east of Sullivan. So no tornado warning on it, but that has our eyes. There are some other threats, though. Damaging winds up to 70 miles an hour. And large hail out of that. The hail tracker will give us an idea of the couple cores. Not as strong as what we saw earlier, which you actually kind of see if I loop this for you, which is encouraging. So you see the loop out here, real strong, kind of flared up into some pinks right there in Gascony County. Not as strong, but I'll bet there's got to be at least quarter-size hail coming out of that. And then the threat for some damaging winds. The other thing is, and I think you said it, the bowing that's going on here. So if you look at this storm line, see how it looks like a bow from a bow and arrow? And that's because the strongest part of this whole storm is right here through Sullivan. So that's why my eyes are fixated there. Now, you can still end up with some severe thunderstorm warnings on this southern flank. And I told you that Leah's going to keep an eye on that for our friends in southern Crawford, Washington counties. It looks like if we did get some warnings, it would be kind of the borderline severe warnings where it's 60-mile-an-hour winds, quarter-size hail. We want you to know about it. Here's my advice. Anywhere along this line, just be inside and away from windows and let this pass, even if you're not in a warning. Because I think that southern flank has at least the potential to take down some tree branches. You see how there's no yellow boxes, no warnings there? So at the very least, when this comes through, just be inside away from windows in that southeastern part of Crawford County and into Washington County. Then we have this section of the storm, which is the strongest part, and that little notch right there is where we have air flowing up into and then around and east of Sullivan, rotating, not strongly enough to warrant a tornado warning. Then as you go north, the line is really not all that organized, although as I say that, I look at this one cell that News 4's Alex Gall is hearing sirens in Pacific. I don't know if they're seeing anything before the warning has been issued. And if you have emergency management or you have law enforcement that sees something, that could be how they sound them. It also could be that they're sounding them because of the severe thunderstorm warning. I don't know. Each municipality, and I don't see any strong rotation there. Maybe they saw a funnel cloud. If they did, and this is Pacific, you know, if they did, it would be on this kind of southern flank coming into Pacific's right about here. Here's Eureka. But I don't see any real strong rotation. There's no tornado warning on this now. And something you may not know is the National Weather Service does not sound the sirens. Municipalities or counties do that. It depends, and they're all different. And they all have different rules. And that's okay, but some of them may sound them when you have real strong winds and potential for hail coming in. And maybe, and I don't know this, maybe there's kids' baseball games going on in Pacific. The sirens are outdoor warning system, outdoor. And so they may be issuing or sounding the sirens because they want anyone that's outdoors to get inside and get more information. Turn on Channel 4, we'll tell you what's going on. And what is going on is this is a really heavy storm with the potential for some hail, some 60-mile-an-hour winds coming into Pacific now, and anyone outside should be inside. So there's no tornado warning on it right now. I don't see any real strong rotation.
I've got a video that was just sent to us.
Yeah, please share.
If you wouldn't mind me pulling it up real quick.
Please, go ahead.
But it's showing the outer edges of that storm that was near Sullivan, Missouri, and it looks very scary, but this is what's called a shelf cloud. And essentially when you see this, it's just a sign of strong winds. It just looks like a shelf above the ground. And certainly we saw those strong winds in Sullivan, Missouri, and those storms are continuing to track to the northeast. I think we need to probably pop up a track on those soon.
Hold on one second. Keep that video going. So that shelf right there, but see how it pans? That's a wall cloud right there. And what that is that's air rushing up into the storm. And as the air rushes up really, really fast, it cools the air and you get the condensation, you get the clouds. But what I notice, and this is the thing, not all wall clouds rotate. Wall cloud is a lowering from the main cloud. So we see that, right? But we don't see any spinning. Especially, you would want to see pretty rapid, consistent spinning. So shelf cloud, wall cloud, that's just air going up into the storm. SLC, scary looking cloud, not producing a tornado, really low to the ground. Sometimes we call them scud clouds. They're very scary looking, I know, but no tornado warning on that. That's why you need to check in with us. The National Weather Service will issue the tornado warnings. We'll be analyzing on radar. We'll let you know what's going on. Yeah. Do you mind updating the status of the watches and warnings for us right now?
Yes. Yeah, we haven't updated that in a little bit.
Yeah.
Probably the main thing that we're concerned about, obviously, is that tornado warning. And most of our counties within the purple you can see are included in that. There's just a couple counties out in Illinois not in that tornado watch. It goes until 10 p.m. So that's the main window from now until 10 p.m. where we're going to be seeing certainly tornado potential. So that means that ingredients are there. We've had a couple earlier tornado warnings, nothing right now, but we still have those high wind warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, and that's another thing we're watching. And then the severe thunderstorm watch, that's just for our counties out to the west, Phelps County and Gasconade counties in that watch until 7 p.m. So that expires in just over an hour. And we'll have to see how they are going to be updating that warning.
Let's get back to the warnings, too. One of them is where News 4's Alex Gall is. He's near where there's some reports nearby, at least he's not there, but Villa Ridge with ping pong ball size hail. That's in Villa Ridge, north of his location. We moved him south of the core of that storm cell. Alex, what are you seeing or hearing even? Are you hearing hail coming down? Yeah.
Steve, we are currently here looking west at 44. This is in Pacific. We have not seen hail yet. We are starting to see rain come down here just in the last couple of minutes. And like we mentioned a couple of minutes ago, the sirens going off here too. But there are some big droplets coming down on the car right now.
Yeah, it sounds like you're and you're south of Pacific, right? I think we lost.
South of the highway, correct.
Just south of the highway. Okay. So you are going to get clipped by this. If you guys want to move a little farther south, go ahead, just to get out of some of that hail. You only need to go about 3 miles south, and you'll be out of it. But we did also get a report from the National Weather Service of I think they put out a flood warning or a flash flood warning. Let me double check on that on this. This is a flash flood warning. So, and remember we were talking about, hey, this thing's not moving very fast, so they did issue a flash flood warning on this, and that comes right up into Pacific. So when you do come back up north, Alex, and you hit 44 and maybe you go farther west, just a heads up, there could be some flash flooding in spots. That's in Franklin County, about 22,000 people in a flash flood warning there. And that is one of the warnings that we have going. Otherwise, there's another one to the southwest, and that same area is going to hit where you've had that slow moving cell. So I think especially from Union to, say, Villa Ridge, Pacific, Eureka, let's be really on guard. And they're heading south, by the way. So there's the storm. They're going this way. So they're still going to get hit by this storm, and we're going to have to watch that for them. But I wanted to get them just out of the immediate danger, and you heard it, the hail, hitting their car. So I wanted to get them out of that. But see, this storm right here is going to hit an area that's already been hit so hard by this slow-moving storm. Slow-moving storm, hail producer. There's a little notch there we'll have to keep an eye on. Don't think I see any real significant rotation along there yet. Not at this point, but that's definitely got my eye. That is inflow coming into the storm and then wrapping around. So that just tells me there's a little bit of rotation right there. That's coming into Pacific. So again, maybe someone saw, funnel cloud or saw something, or maybe the sirens were set off because of the hail and the winds. And hail is coming down on Alex right now. Alex, do you have any idea, and this is going to be hard for you to judge, especially as you're driving, but do you have any idea as you see them kind of smash on the pavement, what size you might be dealing with?
Judging by the sound, it sounds like pretty significant size hail right now. It's hard to tell on the road right now what the size is. It seems mixed with the rain currently.
Totally understand. Just thought I'd ask if maybe you had a gauge there. So if you get 2 miles, that's 2 miles south of Pacific, you're going to get out of it. So you'll be okay. Pretty soon, all of a sudden, it's just going to start to ease up.
We just got a damage report in Sullivan from those earlier winds that we were talking about. This is unconfirmed, but it's coming through this information to us. But a roof is off of a building now in Sullivan, Missouri, East Springfield Road and North Church Street. So that was reported earlier.
Who did we get that reported from? Was that Train Spotter or
That was
EM?
from an EM, emergency manager.
Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate it. That storm, by the way, the rotation on it looks even weaker farther down around Sullivan. There's still some rotation east, but I would say anywhere along that leading edge, you have the threat for some damaging winds. And I just also wanted to point out that where we showed Alex getting hit by rain and hail, that's an area that's been hit pretty hard from Union. I'm going to highlight it here, from Union to around Pacific by a slow-moving storm. Well, now we have this coming in, right? So let's also be on guard for potential of further flash flooding in here because you got another storm coming your way. Alex, News 4's Alex Gall's in storm mode Silverado, and you could see them kind of hurrying south. I think they're probably within just a few minutes of getting out of any kind of hail, but you hear it. You hear it. And there's a lot of folks hearing hail hitting their house right now. 16,000 people in this warning that covers Sullivan, where we did have damage, reports at least at this point, of a roof off of a building or house, I believe you said it was. Mm-hmm. That's 44 in Grace Summit. Remember, that's where that hailstorm you've been hearing, Alex Gall. Well, north of there, actually deeper into the core where there's probably larger hail, that's where we have now 240,000 people that are in that warning. And that's because it's right around Pacific, Villa Ridge, coming into Eureka, and goes right into the St. Louis Metro. So, if you're wondering what's going on, why are they still on the air? We don't have tornado warnings, but we have hail. We have a storm that has a history of producing 96 mile an hour winds, could still be producing 60, 70 mile an hour winds. That's the one farther to the south. And this particular cell with the hail and a little bit of rotation that we're keeping an eye on here, just south of 44 near Pacific, has 240,000 people, so 250,000 people that are in the warning, and many are going to be hearing the hail, and I want to just make sure that you're prepared and alert and get inside, get away from windows as this passes. Again, no tornado warning on this right now. I've been keeping an eye on the rotation to the south. That looks weaker. The rotation near Pacific is, it's rotating for sure, and it's something we're going to need to keep an eye on, but it's not real tight and real strong at this point. But see that little hook right there? That's what I'm watching, and that's coming towards Eureka. So let's zoom in on this storm and give you an idea of where it's headed next. And I'm going to, I'm really going to have to get a better idea of the timing on this, because it came out at 40 miles an hour, and I really don't think that's how fast it was moving. So what you're witnessing me do just in real time is backtrack a half hour before. So there's 12 miles, so that would be about 24, 25 miles per hour. And so now let's go to where the radar is now. And I'm going to put a track on it at 25. So now that I have kind of an accurate track, and what I'm going to track is hail core, which is here north of 44. Remember, we moved Alex south of 44. So here's the hail core, and all the way down to where that rotation is. What are we looking there on the left-hand side of the screen? That's MoDOT, right? 44 at Six Flags, pulled over. So 240,000 people in a severe thunderstorm warning. We got cars pulling over. We got a little rotation to watch on the southern flank of this storm. And the potential for some short-term flooding, because remember, this thing's not moving very fast, although it has sped up from 15 to now 25 miles per hour. Okay, Six Flags in 7 minutes. So what that means is they're pulling over because of this rain. Well, imagine when that hits them. And that's going to be not only just a deluge of rain, but it's also going to be with some hail, maybe some ping pong ball sized hail. So that image you just saw of how dark it was is actually not the worst part of the storm at Six Flags. It'll be there in about 7 minutes. Wildwood, I know you're getting hit hard now. About 11 minutes, you're going to get the northern flank of that storm. And then don't forget the southern flank down here. That's in Eureka in about 10 minutes. And that southern flank probably doesn't have as much hail, although we know it has hail because Alex was driving through it. Remember, I placed him down here versus up here, so he's out of the hail core. But then we started to see that rotation, so I said, hey, go farther south. Just get away from this. I don't like that look. I didn't want him here. That's where the rotation is. So Alex should be, actually, there's Pacific. Alex should be down here by now. And that is News 4's Alex Gall on the road, and I don't think he has hail anymore, not much rain, so I think we got him to a safe spot. But there's the track for you. And let's get a little more in-depth. I always like these aero trackers that give us a little better, more specific idea of the timing. Leah, can you type in 25 for me? We're going to go 25 miles per hour. When she does that, that rotation would be near Eureka in about 8 minutes. What do we got coming in?
They just extended the warning to now include Jefferson, St. Louis, Washington County. And they have the tornado possible tag on that new warning that's just coming out.
Okay.
Ooh.
New warning
Big
here.
warning.
Rotation right here. And I think there's probably still some residual rotation from what was near Sullivan right about here. So there may be actually 2 spots that I need to keep an eye on. So I was tracking a little rotation, of course, some hail up near Eureka, and I want to finish that. And then I'm going to go to this new warning. So you really have kind of 2 storms going on here. You have a line that actually, a part of it up here that I draw from the north is not in a warning right now, but you have this entire line. I just think anywhere along this line, just be inside, be away from windows when it hits. But obviously, the yellow boxes highlight where the best potential for severe winds are, large hail, and of course, we're monitoring a couple spots for rotation. Then you have this storm that I'm going to get back to tracking, but I wanted to make sure we got you the newest information. And thank you to Leah. It takes a team. I really appreciate that. So jump in anytime you've got new information. I think you do.
Yeah, I've got a couple updates. That storm that Alex was near in Pacific, we're starting to now get all those reports filtering in, and we're seeing ping pong ball size hail and even egg size hail. And then you have to think about, you have to combine that with the wind risk that we still have. So it's not just hail falling straight down, it's hail being blown in the wind, and that could certainly cause damage. And I'm not just talking to cars. That will certainly cause some damage to cars, but it could knock against the siding on your house, that large hail that we are seeing. So all of those reports are starting to filter in, and hopefully by this point everyone's already inside as the storm's blowing over. And I wouldn't even consider going outside at least until the threat has passed, which isn't going to be for quite some time. But we're starting to see those reports come in, and now we're starting to get reports of some snapped trees due to those wind gusts. This is a report that just came in from Sullivan just a moment ago.
Okay.
So we're starting to see some early signs of that damage due to the wind, and then that hail could still cause some damage, especially when it's being blown in those winds.
And there's the MoDOT cam from Six Flags. Thank you, Leah. Really appreciate that. Please don't hesitate to jump in and give me great reports like that. That really informs urgently what needs to be told, which is what's happening now, and then I'll deal with where it's going next. That MoDOT cam, heavy rain. That was near Pacific right there. They're in the worst of it now. Oh, actually, that was near Eureka and Six Flags, I believe. Speaking of Eureka, I mentioned that rotation. It's not strong enough right now to warrant a tornado. I just wanted to mention that's rotating. But even without it, see that core's coming in now? I mean, it's now coming into Eureka. Large hail, damaging winds. Just be inside, away from windows. If you feel like, I looked out the window before I went to my safe shelter in the house and it looked really bad, and I feel like I want to be in the basement, go for it. Whatever makes you feel safer, but inside and away from windows is for severe thunderstorm warnings. And then if you feel like this is kind of a higher end or something, you don't feel like you're in a safe spot, maybe you live in an area with a lot of trees and you're worried about you're on the first floor, a tree comes down through the roof, you're in trouble, go ahead, go for the basement, whatever makes you feel safe. But know that right now there's no tornado warning on this. It is a hail and a damaging wind threat. 29 minutes it's going to be, that would be about Fenton, by the way. Kirkwood in about 20 minutes, just for the rain, actually. The core of that would be a little longer into Kirkwood. Just for the rain, a little heavier rain, because it is raining right now in Chesterfield, about 9 minutes. And let's focus just on the core of that storm, too. There's the core, one of the cores. That would be around Town and Country, Des Peres, in about 24 minutes. And then it is 6 p.m. We've got a 7:30 St. Louis City SC game. And there's going to be people filing in. So, we've got a severe thunderstorm warning for wind and hail on this storm right here. And what I'd like you to do is help me, help your friends. If you know anyone that's going to that game, maybe they don't have the KMOV weather app, so they're not aware of what's coming their way. I mean, not the core, but the rain, about 45 minutes. I mean, they may be out enjoying themselves, and we want them to have the heads up that they need to at least take shelter, just be inside, away from windows when that storm hits, and know that it might be a while because there's a secondary storm back off to the west. So 2 storms, lots of yellow boxes. Let me give you the big picture here. We also have a tornado warning just outside our coverage area that we'll need to keep an eye on for our friends in Reynolds and Iron counties. See that red box right there? That's not in our coverage area, but we will monitor it for sure. So while there are a lot of boxes on the screen here, it really highlights this is the section of the storm that has the best potential to produce damage. I still think anywhere down here, Washington County, be inside, be away from windows when that hits. Because there is that threat for maybe even strong winds that are 50, 55, just below severe criteria, and you don't have a warning. I'd still rather have you safe and inside. Plus, you don't want to get hit by all that rain that probably has some hail. But it gives you an idea that, if you, instead of focusing on the mess of boxes, you just focus on this is where the strongest storms are right now. And there's really 2 things I'm watching within this. One is this storm right here that has potential to produce some short-term flooding, especially with another line coming in behind it. This one's moving at about 25. This one's moving at about 40. It's going to catch up to this and absorb it. This one also has the potential to produce some large hail. We've had actually some reports of that. And I'm monitoring rotation on the southern flank that's near and probably east of Eureka. Okay, so that's one storm. Then there's this storm right here, and I haven't given that a lot of attention lately, so let's zoom in and see what's going on, because that has the threat for damaging winds, large hail, and it looked like there were 2 spots for rotation that I had to keep an eye on. One is in northern Washington County right here. This is east of Sullivan, but then deeper buried within this, it's a little tougher to find, and I'm going to have to see what it looks like in the Doppler winds, and I'm going to actually loop it actually. It's much, much weaker. That's great. So I'm going to try to highlight it for you right there. That was a little of rotation. That looks like it's kind of spun itself out a little bit, so that's good. and I don't see this one coming into Richwoods as being really intense or strong. So the severe thunderstorm on this has a tornado possible tag because there's some areas of rotation we need to monitor, but I'm not seeing anything immediately that warrants any kind of tornado warning along that. And that is that line that came through Sullivan where there was a report. Can you reiterate that report from emergency manager? Was it a roof blown off a?
Yeah, roof. It was, I'll have to go back through and find it, but it was either a roof blown off a house or some sort of structure.
Okay.
I'll have to find that report again.
All right.
Live from the KMOV Broadcast Center, News 4 is in storm mode.
Just about 6 p.m. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. First alert storm mode coverage continues as we have more warnings. Meteorologist Leah Hill is at my side. We've had large hail. We've had reports of wind damage and a flash flood warning that's going on too. I'll highlight all those warnings for you. First of all, there is a severe thunderstorm warning on a storm that's just pounding Eureka, around Six Flags, Wildwood. I'm zooming in and you see the yellow box, but really the core is right here from around Wildwood, Baldwin, south down to Eureka. The threat there, I'm going to get rid of the box to just highlight the core for you, and it's still a really intense core. The threat here is going to be some large hail coming out of this storm coming into Eureka right now and right around Wildwood and Baldwin and south. So basically around Highway 100, Manchester there and south. Look at these cores down 109. Do you want to pop up Most Sacred Heart Church on BJC Cam, just see what we got there? Let me know what inputs it in. So that's one warning. And we're monitoring the rotation on the southern flank, and I don't see it as being strong. That's great news. So just our friends in Eureka, we mentioned some rotation. It's not strong enough right now that I have any concern. We'll monitor it, but there's definitely a little bit of rotation right in here. Not too strong to warrant any kind of tornado warning. It is a severe thunderstorm warning. Okay,
Were you wanting the Eureka camera?
Yeah.
It's offline.
It's down too. Okay. We have another severe thunderstorm warning farther to the south. This one encompasses, it's now east of Sullivan where there was some roof damage, by the way. Union, be careful, you've got heavy rain coming down, but you're just outside of this severe thunderstorm warning. And it's the leading edge kind of right here and a little back into it from Richwoods back towards east of Sullivan that we have the threat for the strongest winds. I've been monitoring that for rotation as well. And yeah, you know, at times we're seeing a little spin, but we're just not seeing anything really strong that warrants a tornado warning, obviously, because the National Weather Service hasn't put one out. This one's moving a little faster at about 40 miles an hour off to the east, a little bit northeast. Here's some cities in the path of that second severe thunderstorm warning. Richwood's pretty much now, and you can see it getting into Morse Hill in 17 minutes, Scottsdale in 27 minutes. So that means Jefferson County, you're up next on that. The other thing is the northern flank of this is going to run over an area that's gotten hit by heavy rain, probably some large hail already. And as I loop this, you're going to see it right here. This is the storm that's already hitting this Union to Eureka and Pacific area. And that one still has a severe thunderstorm warning. But I just point out that while Union's not in a severe thunderstorm warning now, you're getting heavy rain again coming right up this kind of Highway 50 and then into I-44 corridor through Pacific and Eureka. And that is an area where there is a flash flood warning. And I would say maybe even extend that a little bit. Just so, let's just say this, in and around the flash flood warning, be careful for some flooding, some standing water, ponding on the roads because of being hit by one storm with another storm coming. And you'll see that here. And this is the second storm coming that I don't see intensifying on the northern flank. I see it stronger down in southern, southeastern Franklin County. Let me highlight that for you and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So the strongest part of this storm looks to be down here and not up north here. So that's the focus for the strongest winds, some hail cores there, some little areas of rotation that we'll monitor. So that's the strongest part of this storm, and that's coming into Jefferson County. So let's get a track on that. And again, that's about 40 miles an hour. What I'm going to do here is instead of the core, I'm actually going to go with the leading edge, just where some of that rain is now. So leading edge here, cores here. Strongest winds are somewhere right in between, okay? Oberman in about a minute, Hillsborough in about 17 minutes. So 2 severe thunderstorm warnings, one of which has Eureka to Chesterfield, Kirkwood, one of which has 235,000 people in it. That's this storm right here. So if you're wondering why we're, still been on the air for a while now, here we are at News 4 at 6, and we continue with our coverage. This is why. 235,000 people in a warning, many of them getting affected by large hail. Our News 4's Alex Gall was being hit by it as well, but we put him on the south side where it was smaller hail, and then he drove out of it, so he wasn't in the worst of it. And that's News 4's Alex Gall right there. What Alex is looking at actually is a shelf cloud in the distance. Can you guys give me an idea of his location? Is he in Franklin County or Jefferson County? But he's probably looking.
We're currently in Pacific right now.
In Pacific.
We're looking north.
And you're looking north. So you're looking at the next storm to come in. So he's in Pacific right here. And this storm has already passed him by. It's hitting Eureka now, Baldwin, Wildwood. And then the next storm is coming right in here. And I don't see, Alex, where you're looking to the north, I don't see anything really intense out of that line. I think it's much farther south of you. So I think you're in a good spot as far as winds and hail. But I would just let you know that there could be some flooding. So if you guys come across any flooded out roads, just turn around, find a different route. We're talking live on the air with our crews because they need that instant analysis sometimes, especially when you've got one storm here, another storm here, and they're kind of smack dab in the middle. The good news is I don't see any rotation, and that's really the key. They've got radar. They know where to be, and I always tell them when you see red boxes, don't be in a red box. And they're in yellow boxes. That's okay. I do see a red box to the south. That's not in our coverage area. That's a tornado warning. Let's keep an eye on that. We have meteorologist Leah Hill, who's also been monitoring our instant message chat with the National Weather Service and getting some reports of some of the damage. And she's heard of some really large hail and some damage reports coming in, even that roof off the home near Sullivan. So while I just recapped some of the warnings we have here, why don't you tell folks the history that these storms have done as far as damage goes recently?
Yeah, well, when they first came into the area, we got a report of 96, 97 mile per hour winds near Vichy, which is close to Rolla. And as they've continued to track to the northeast, we're still looking at 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. I haven't received any new wind reports with these storms as of recently, but we're looking at hail reports. So my concern is that we're getting hail that's anywhere from about $half size hail to even ping pong ball size hail. And when you have that mixed with these reports of high winds, 60 to 70 miles per hour, it's just going to be throwing those hailstones around. And now those storms starting to move into the Baldwin area. I'm seeing reports of quarter-size hail. They're starting to increase as they approach Baldwin, Chesterfield. Those are some of the news reports that are coming in, and it's just on the kind of fringe of St. Louis County. And so we're starting to see those higher hail reports starting to trickle into more populated areas. So I imagine that more reports are going to be coming in here shortly, and likely more wind reports with that.
And I've zoomed in just to kind of street level map this out for you. You can see south of 44 in Eureka, you're getting hit hard, but see some of the purples on the north side. So as you go north on 109, that's where you're getting the larger core and the better potential for some real large hail from Hilltop Ridge Drive right around 109. It's crossing 109 right now. We're now zoomed in pretty tight, but we're north of Eureka, north of 44. We also see on our MoDOT cams how dark it is. You see that on the left-hand side of your screen. So as I zoom in and kind of street level map some of this out, Hidden Valley, Forest up 109 to Old State Road. I mean, they're just getting dumped on with heavy rain, and you saw there in the image of what it looks like. I mean, it just looks like the middle of the night, dark because of how heavy the rain is and probably some hail too. And I'm going up 109, and as you go a little farther north towards Wildwood, you're on the lighter side of this core. You're still getting hit hard. You probably have some hail, but right around 100 and 109, it is a little lighter from Wildwood, Grover, and over to Baldwin. Ellisville looks like a core has developed around you, though, coming out of Old State Road and towards you. Go ahead. That was 44 and 109, I believe you were showing, and that's exactly what I'm zoomed in on. No, you were showing a MoDOT cam there. 109 and 44. Look how dark that is. And notice how the cars have, some of them have their flashers. A lot of them do. Trucks do too.
Steve, we just got a tornado warning.
Go for it. Thank you.
This just popped up. Franklin and Jefferson counties until 7 p.m. So this is still radar indicated, no confirmation, but they're certainly seeing that rotation that we've been tracking some time, and it looks like it's tightening up a little bit It is near
Yep.
Richwood, moving 25 miles per hour. That's slow moving compared to some of these storms that we've seen.
Thank you. I appreciate that location and speed. And Richwoods, you're not in the tornado warning. It's actually just north of you, but it's very close. It's northeast, and it's going to cross the Franklin County and Jefferson County line very shortly. So a red box, thank you, Leah, for bringing this to our attention immediately. Radar indicated, red box is the tornado warning. That's where the rotation is. And you said 25 miles an hour, north or northeast?
It is moving
Or more east?
east.
East, okay. So we'll push it off to the east and get you a track. The storm I was just tracking, by the way, I was talking about 109 and 44 in street mapping. That is not this location. Now we're farther south. So there's Eureka. We're at 109 and 44. Now we've gone south. This is southeastern Franklin County coming into Jefferson County. So we really have two storms. And the one on the left-hand side of your screen, you see 44 and 109, is the one up to the north around Eureka. The one down south here has rotation that at least radar indicates the potential for a tornado. It doesn't guarantee it's going to be on the ground, but Hillsborough in about 20 minutes. And let's zoom in and see if there's any more rural towns that kind of pop up. Most Maupin, this is most likely going to be south of Cedar Hill. And we'll get rid of the red box. And what I'm also going to do is switch over to the Doppler winds to see that rotation right around Maupin now, headed towards Cottage Farm. And if it's 25, we've got that in our arrow tracker. You're talking about 11 minutes. So this dark line right here is the Franklin County line, and then this is Jefferson County. So we're now in southwestern Jefferson County. So if you're in Cedar Hill, if you're in Arnold, this is way south of you, but this is headed towards Cottage Farm and probably north of Ware. That's what that is right there, Ware. In about 11 minutes or so, Cottage Farm, maybe 15 minutes in Ware. Let's get an idea of some other cities in the path of this. Hillsborough, not too far off. Let's see timing-wise if it holds its rotation. And remember, it is radar indicated. I don't see a real strong signature at this point, but it's strong enough for sure. I mean, we know this is rotating. We know it's right here. That definitely warrants a tornado warning. Question is, will it still have that rotation in about 25 minutes when it gets to Hillsborough? The other thing I'm going to do is back up a little bit and make sure that I've got that trajectory correct coming out of the east. And that is moving way too fast. So let's slow this down. And it looks like it just strengthened. Weather Service did a good job of monitoring this and catching that. I mean, this just flared up, that rotation. So the rotation was really weak here. You got some real strong winds, downpours really coming here. And then you have this interaction with those downpours and the inflow right here. So that's where the rotation is. And I do think it's somewhat of a new rotation, so it's hard to get a real good read, but it might have gone from just north of Richwoods and more to the northeast. This is why I do that. You got to analyze this on the fly. So I'm going to toggle. It's a little bit northeast. I'm going to show you. So there it is a few minutes ago. Here it is now. That helps me. I'm doing this all on the fly, so bear with me. I just want to make sure you get the most accurate read because I don't think this is going to come directly at Hillsborough, but maybe I'm more of a northeast slant. And if we put it a little bit north of east, 25 miles per hour. So Hillsborough's now in the southern part of our cone here. And if that track like that may be just north of Hillsborough, in between Bellows Creek and Hillsborough in the next 20 to 25 minutes. Did you get some new warnings coming in over there, Leah?
This looks just like an extension of the warning, but it's been extended to include, I'm just reading these, Richmond Heights, Ladue, Sunset Hills, Town and Country, Bridgeton. So that warning is starting to be extended farther out into the metro. So I imagine St. Louis County, the storm has a history of severe weather, large hail, damaging wind. So in St. Louis, in downtown, that's going to be in our area fairly soon and likely still severe warned given the trends that we have seen with it.
So what Leah's talking about here is the warning which stopped here has now been extended to this area. That's what that kind of new yellow box is. So it basically took, because of this storm, they just extended it right here. So this is severe thunderstorm warning, now east of Eureka. I'm telling you, that core has the potential for some really large hail, maybe golf ball sized hail, and I wouldn't be surprised, especially in a really populated area, if we start to see some reports coming in soon. But you're now talking about 416,000 people that are in a severe thunderstorm warning with the potential for some golf ball size hail. And that's this yellow box here, and it's all because of this storm. As far as where the threat for the golf ball size hail is, not on the northern flank here, although probably some hail, maybe quarter size or a little larger, but right here, that southern flank. And I'm still monitoring for rotation, but it's not strong enough right now to warrant any even kind of watching it too closely, but it does hook a little bit, and we'll keep an eye on that right around 44. But really, it's that core right there and the threat for some really strong winds. And then, of course, the tornado warning that is down a little farther south into Jefferson County, and it's pretty much into Jefferson County now. So what we're looking at, the left-hand side of the screen is 55 in Butler Hill. That's from the BJC Skycam. That's Barnes Jewish Siteman in South County. And so that's going to be in an area that right now is rather dry. You're just looking at the dark clouds. That's going to be right about here. And it's actually sandwiched in between the two strongest storms, one of which has potential for some golf ball size hail, maybe 60-mile-an-hour winds, now just east of Eureka. And then, of course, the rotation down here. Here's the deal. What should you do? If you're in one of the yellow boxes, severe thunderstorm warnings, I need you inside and away from windows. If you're a little nervous, you live in an area where there's a lot of trees, you're nervous about maybe a tree coming down on the roof, go ahead and head to the basement or your tornado safe shelter just to be safe. But otherwise, inside, away from windows, usually it does the trick for being safe from severe thunderstorm warnings. That's this, and even including the golf ball potential size hail coming east of Eureka now. Now, the red box, we mentioned about 20 minutes coming towards maybe north of Hillsborough. That's more serious in the sense that it could produce a tornado, so you'd want to be in the basement for sure, or tornado safe shelter, as that rotation is right about here in that southwestern part of Jefferson County. Let me get rid of the boxes for you and kind of highlight things for you as well. And just to make things a little simpler, because it's a mess. Remember, we've got a City SC game coming up here in about an hour and 15 minutes is kickoff, but you know there's a lot of people either going to the game or already down there. So do me a favor, if you know anyone, whether it be downtown that you see on the left-hand side of your screen from the BJC Skycam network from Ballpark Village there and One Cardinal Way, if you know anyone downtown, if you know anyone at a kid's baseball game, just anyone that's outdoors and you see me tracking this and you think, oh, wait, I've got some friends downtown. They're having a good time before the City SC game. Give them a call. Just make sure they get the heads up. Maybe they don't have the KMOV weather app. Maybe they don't know what's happening. By the way, we live stream this on the KMOV weather app. So if you are downtown, if you are kids' baseball or softball games, you can actually watch me, or you can tell them to download it and watch me, and I'll tell you what's going on. They can see this stuff coming in and know where there's rotation, where the strongest winds are.
Steve, check out input 1. It's looking into that storm that's near, that tornado warning storm actually in South County, facing towards the southwest.
Thank you. Look how dark that is in the distance. I don't see any lowering at this point. Really dark here too, but a little shelf cloud there coming in, and very dark skies. That is a good news though. That's Mother Nature's warning for the folks that are downtown or out and about. Looks like we got a new warning, is that right? Yeah, we do. So you want to grab that one for me and I'll zoom in on it while you read it off?
There we go. Okay, let me see. Okay, so this is a new warning for Calhoun County, Jersey County, St. Charles County, and then the northern part of St. Louis County. 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-size hail is going to be the two primary threats.
What's the speed on it?
That is going
Looks
30 miles per hour.
northeast at about 30 miles per hour. Okay, there's some of the cities. New severe thunderstorm warning. St. Charles City, pretty much getting rain, but you're about 5 minutes, get some of the stronger winds from this and the potential for some damage, potential for some hail as well. You see some of the other cities like Florissant in about 15 minutes. If I get rid of the, we have in Winghaven, we have a crew in Winghaven. Are we going to show them or? Yeah, there we go. So they're in the heavy stuff in that brand new severe thunderstorm warning. And right now, I'm seeing mostly rain and hearing mostly rain. Remember when News 4's, if you were with us, News 4's Alex Gall was in hail. You could distinctly hear the pinging. This is News 4's John Kipper. And he's out in Winghaven in the new severe thunderstorm warning in St. Charles County. And that is a new warning that includes 534,000 people. I mean, we're now talking about severe thunderstorm warnings that are 500,000 people affected in the warning and wondering where it is and where is it coming next. It's why we're still on the air here. Let's zoom in on that and see if there's any flare-ups. And don't see any rotation flare-ups. That's good news.
This is a new tornado warning.
Okay.
It's St. Louis.
Yep,
City.
It's the one that was east of Eureka, and it intensified, that little curl. It's right here.
Over Valley Park.
All right, so we've got a tornado warning. It is radar indicated, I believe. Let me double check that.
Radar indicated.
Northeast at 20. It's over around Valley Park. Let's zoom in. Actually, before I zoom in, let me give you the big picture here. Brand new tornado warning, radar indicated. That's the location of where, if there is a tornado. So what's happening is the winds are wrapping around, and if there's a tornado, it's right here around 44, east of Eureka. Eureka, you're in the clear. Valley Park, you are not. This is coming right at 141 and I-44. Let's get rid of the boxes here and get an idea. This is southeast of Castlewood State Park. So if you're anywhere north of Castlewood, you're getting hammered with heavy rain and hail, but you're not getting the worst of this as far as the rotation and the potential for a tornado. That really just curled up. I mean, we were monitoring this east of Eureka, and it had weakened, and now it just curled up right here, right there. So 44 and 141 potential for a tornado. You need to be inside, away from windows, and down in the basement. If you don't have a basement, you're going down to the lowest level of your home or even apartment complex, and just put as many walls in between you and the outside. So wherever you're at, find that lowest level, ideally a basement, and if not, just be on that lowest level and put as many walls between you and the outside. Stay away from windows. There it is right there. It looks like it curled now maybe just north of 44. And it's right on 44 coming at 141. So riding up 44, let's check in on the debris tracker. I don't see anything real significant. That's good news there. Doppler radar can spot when there's debris in the air, and I don't see any signature there. Will you keep an eye on chat too and see if they mention that? Because I'm going to be focused more on the Doppler winds and the radar. So this is going to be just passing 141 in a matter of minutes. And I would say, as far as that rotation goes, it might be like right on 44 or just north. We're talking about around St. Louis Avenue and in Valley Park, sorry. Right around North Highway Drive. That's that outer drive. So that's this outer drive right here. If you have kids that played soccer, the soccer parks are right here. So just trying to give you an idea of the location there. And, there's a bunch of restaurants on the south side of 44. This is also the same location. If you remember when the Merrimack flooded, this location was underwater. So that's 141 and 44. And it's probably either on 44 or just east of 141 as far as that rotation goes. This is going to be, if you're in Valley Park, you need to be taking shelter, and it's going to be moving northeast, I believe. Let's see if it's going up to the east or northeast. I'm going to move it a little more east, and at about 20, let's get an idea from their warning here of the speed. So speed 20 miles an hour, okay? And that puts it at 270 in about 7 minutes. If you're in around Lindbergh, Kirkwood Boulevard, north of 44 or right around 44, that's about 10 minutes. So that's where they're putting in that new Bass Pro Shop right here on the southeast side. That would be right around there in about 10 minutes. Crestwood as well. Again, this is radar indicated at this point. Radar indicated, and it's actually nothing on the ground at this point, but it's actually a pretty strong signature on radar. So, I mean, take this one seriously. If you have friends or family that you know are out and about, give them a call and tell them to take shelter. Go ahead.
This is just a new tornado warning that came in, and in the NWS chat, they're saying that it was a confirmed tornado located over Valley Park.
Okay, let's check out the debris tracker. I don't see anything there. How did they confirm it? It's got to be from this spot right there. So
reading through the
this
report.
is old data, and I'm going to go forward. And is it radar? When they say observed, sometimes it's radar observed.
It looks like it might be radar observed,
Yeah.
but I'm going to go check all the cameras.
So this is debris tracker, and it may have touched down right here, just southwest, and this is old data. And now let me show you where new data. And debris tracker is tracking debris flying in the air. This may be a little tornado debris signature. That's a MoDOT camera at 141 in Marshall as well. Let me check the Doppler winds to see. Yeah, it's still real tight right on Valley Park. So what I'm looking at here are winds that are going towards the radar right here. Winds are going away, and they're circulating right over that 141 and 44 intersection. So you can imagine the rotation is right in here. And earlier, just west of here, just west of 141, the Doppler radar, when it was right about here or so, picked up debris in the air. And so now they have added the tag that it's a confirmed tornado, but I want to put on the warnings here and check. If you read that source says radar confirmed, if you notice that in the warnings, so when they say confirmed, it's radar confirmed. So we haven't seen anyone spot it, but we know that radar has seen it in the air. I don't know if it's still producing a tornado or not. Doesn't matter. The bottom line is this thing could be producing a tornado in Valley Park right now and headed off to the east at about 20 miles an hour. Let me see some of the cities this is going to impact next. This is going to put it in Windsor Springs in about 11 minutes, Crestwood in 16 minutes, Webster Groves in about 22 minutes, and Afton in about 25 minutes. The New Year's Eve tornado from December 31st of 2010 took a little different path. It was a little similar type of storm. It was along a squall line. Took a similar path, but just a little bit more south. It was more south of 44, and that was the December 31st tornado. This one, and we don't know if it's still on the ground or not, right around Valley Park and 141, that's actually just east of 141 now, would be crossing just north of 44 and maybe over towards Lindbergh Boulevard and Kirkwood in maybe 15 minutes or so. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer on that exact location. This is still showing it in Valley Park, but I think as soon as that radar updates, it's going to jump a little bit to the east. So I'm going to anticipate this being a little east of 141 at this point. And you notice when I show it on radar, it has jumped. So I think that it's more in this location right here. It was right around 141 and 44, and that means it's going to be coming towards 270 in a matter of minutes. The winds within the Doppler winds, the winds within the storm are still indicating a threat for real strong rotation and potential tornado. That doesn't mean that it is still on the ground. We had radar confirming that it was on the ground, and we don't know if that was just a brief touchdown. But I would say anywhere around 270 and 44, it's coming your way. There it did just jump. So see, that's where the rotation is. Let's zoom in a little closer and street map this out for you.
And I just want to remind everybody that if you're hearing the warnings or maybe the alerts going off on your phone, this is the moment where you should be in your safe shelter. So interior room, bathroom, closet, basement. A lot of places around here have basements, thankfully, and you should already be in your safe shelter if you're not there already, even though we don't have confirmation necessarily of someone who's seen it. Treat it as if there's a tornado heading towards you. Get in your safe shelter right now just as this is rolling through.
So it would be right in here on 44, headed towards right around the 270 junction. And it's now east of that 141 location. So if you're in Valley Park, you're in the clear now. It is east of you. If you're anywhere around the north side of Fenton and Sunset Hills, the north side of Sunset Hills, from around 270 and 44 to where 44 connects with Lindbergh, that's where it's headed. And this is not going to be into downtown Kirkwood. It's going to be south. So there's Kirkwood. Here's the rotation right here. And we're talking in a matter of minutes. And it looked like it did jump a little bit more east than northeast. Yeah, it did. So what I was doing there is I was going back in time to see where it was. That's where it is now. And that's where it was. So you're looking at 44 and Bulls right now. I mean, that's where it is, guys, or maybe just east of there. That's the MoDOT camera. So let's keep an eye on that. You saw the flashing lights, and that's the cars that pulled over because of there's heavy rain with this. But that's where it is, and it's buried in rain now. So in fact, let me show you. This is where the tornado would be, and it's buried in rain. This is not anything you're going to see, so please don't try and go out and see this. But this is riding up 270 to around Lindbergh very shortly, matter of minutes. Let's put it at about 20, 25 minutes. I mean, in about a minute, it's right over 270. In about 3 minutes, it's over Lindbergh. That would be right around Sunset Hills and Kirkwood, because you've got 44, where on the north side it's Kirkwood, on the south side is Sunset Hills. Then into around Crestwood, and this, if it follows this kind of little northeast or maybe a little east, this road right here is Watson. So this could be right around, if it follows more of an east, it would actually eventually, because 44 jaunts to the north, it would actually be then south of 44 and right around Watson in about 6 minutes. Let me get to the Doppler winds, pinpoint it a little better for you. We'll zoom in, and basically, this is a lot of industrial area. And the Fenton Forum, the hockey rink, is on the south side of 44. This would actually be east of that at this point. There's Bowles. This is Bowles right here. So this is now east of Bowles. We showed you that from the MoDOT camera. The rotation would be right around 44, maybe even on it. And we're actually showing you MoDOT cams from 44. I'm being very specific on this location for you. I'll zoom out, give you a big picture in a second. If you hear me say things like Bowles and 44, Crestwood, Watson, if you hear me mention towns, Kirkwood, Sunset Hills, and you know you've got friends out there, especially if they're doing something outdoors, maybe a kid's baseball game, give them a call. You can help. We'll all do this together, and give them a call to give them the heads up. Get inside, take shelter, and hopefully they'll stay safe. We did have radar confirming that this touchdown, and we'll check in on the debris tracker again. I do not see a signature there. I'm going to go back in time. This is most likely the radar point where it's radar confirmed. And that was at 6:18. So we're now at 6:30, and I don't see debris in the air. The rotation is right about here. So what we're looking at is the radar is actually looking at all the objects in the air. And if they all look a little bit different, then you're going to end up with a little pocket of kind of whites and blues like we saw earlier. And I'm going to go back in time now, like this. And so most likely there was a touchdown right here just west of 141 on 44, and it threw up some leaves, trees, branches, stuff like that. And so the radar's noticing, hey, it's not just raindrops, there's all these odd shaped things in the air. And now we're noticing more conformity to what's in the air. And that's what radar can help us with. The Doppler part can really, and the dual pole can really help us figure out that we are not seeing debris in the air. That's really good news at this point. So even though we say that there's still strong rotation, and it's coming right over 270 and 44, and that this has a history of probably producing a tornado based on the radar data, we're not seeing that data right now at this location. Hopefully you still take it serious. You always play it safe rather than
Steve,
sorry.
Sorry, check out that storm down south near Hillsborough. An emergency manager is reporting power flashes down there and potential damage.
Okay, so this is the other tornado warning we have going on here. And thank you. This is why it takes a team. You got to draw my attention when I'm focused on one tornado warning. Meteorologist Leah Hill let me know that we've got something going on down south. And that down south is in Jefferson County, right around Hillsborough, maybe just on the north side of town. You're looking at a MoDOT cam too. We're still keeping eyes on that 44 right there. But I would say in Jefferson County, it's crossing 21 right now. And so when she said they were seeing power flashes, typically when you have a tornado and it twists the power lines and transformers, they pop, they explode, and you see just a quick little burst. So those power flashes, while not guaranteeing that there's a tornado, are indicative. It's just one of those little pieces of evidence that we're trying to gather together to see if indeed maybe there's a tornado, and hopefully people hear us say this and take it more seriously. Bottom line is, from Hillsborough to Mappaville, you need to be in your safe shelter as a potential tornado in central Jefferson County. That one moving to the east at about 25. And help me with the speeds on these two, but I'm going to go 25 like the one to the north. and you see it into Peevely in about 18 minutes. So that would mean in about 18 minutes or so, crossing Highway 55. So we're in central Jefferson County, radar indicated at this point. We'll switch over to the debris tracker here and go back in time. And I do not see anything on debris tracker around Hillsborough. I'm going back in time. Well, there's one right there, but I don't know if that's with the rotation, and I bet it's not. It's not. So back in time. Okay, so the rotation now east of Hillsborough. If you're in Hillsborough, you're in the clear. Rotation's east of Hillsborough and going to cross 55 really shortly. Probably shorter time now that we have the updated, 10 minutes now. Okay, let's go back up north and see what the latest update is on the radar data showing the rotation that was round 44 and 270. It's right about here, 44, and it looks like it's not going to be south. It's going to be, and it's weaker too. It's going to be near and east of downtown, so it jumped up a little bit to the north, near and east of Kirkwood, 44, coming into Webster Groves. So my son, who's home right now, a teenager, you should be where you know you need to be. I need you down in the basement, away from those windows, the window wells, and you know the safe spot underneath the stairwell where I need you. The good news is, don't be scared, just be prepared, and you are. We're going to get through this. It's weaker rotation signature. I don't see anything in the air, as in debris in the air. Debris tracker doesn't show that, but we're just going to play it safe. Even my family needs to play it safe. My teenage son needs to, and he's got that KMOV weather app, so I know he's getting the warnings, and I told him to pay attention too. So that again is the tornado warning that's coming into round east of Kirkwood now, and coming into Webster Groves.
And there's also a continuation of that tornado warning that's just now passing over 55. They extended that warning to include a couple counties in Illinois, so St. Clair County now included within that warning. So the sirens are likely going off, but this is a good reminder that oftentimes you can't hear the sirens because they're only meant for people who are outside. But by this point, I'm sure phone alerts are starting to go off, and certainly our weather app, our KMOV weather app, will be sending you alerts as well. And as soon as you get the reports, that's when you need to go taking shelter.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that, getting the update on that. It's basically a new tornado warning, but it's for the same storm. So I've highlighted for you where that one is that's indicated a new, and I'm going to have to make this a little bigger, a new tornado warning. It's right here. It's going to be just north of Festus. That is warranted this tornado warning into Randolph, Monroe County and into St. Clair County. That's a pretty big tornado warning there. So that signature is still strong enough to warrant 2 more counties to be warned. Brand new severe thunderstorm warning up to the north. By the way, if I'm not mentioning your town, that's a good thing. You're not in the path of rotation, but you could be in the path of some damaging winds and some hail. So if I'm not mentioning your town, while that is a good thing, as this line of storms hits, I want you inside and away from windows. If I'm mentioning your town and mentioning the tornado warning, I want you down in the basement or the lowest level, putting as many walls between you and the outside. We have Forest Park camera there showing the real dark skies. And of course, it's 6:37 with a City SC game coming up here shortly. A lot of people are going to be downtown, and within a matter of minutes, you're going to have the rain hitting. So the good news is Mother Nature gives them pictures like that to tell them, hey, get inside. But about 16 minutes, that's going to hit downtown. As far as where that rotation is now, let's switch over. It's weaker. That's good news. Not as strong. In fact, there's a few areas that we'll have to monitor along this line, but City Park has asked fans to seek shelter, to shelter in place. They have a plan, they're executing it, and within 16 minutes of this thing, and there's rotation just east of Kirkwood, heading in towards Webster Grove, near and north of 44. I'm also going to have to monitor, this is a little new area of rotation, it's much weaker, down to the south near Gravois, Highway 30. And as that comes their way, they're telling people to seek shelter or shelter in place. The best idea, if you have fans down there, we've got the storm shelters, and they're marked by the bathrooms. That's a great place to be.
You said Hillsborough?
Don't be out in your car now. This has moved. Did you see that jump? You see that jump? That was really quick. And so this is going to be a new update on where that rotation is. It is east of Webster Groves now and coming into the city. It's pretty much right on the city line, and it is weaker. Do you have some new information coming in, Leah? Leah, do you have some new information?
Thank you. They were just talking with me. We're getting some increasing reports of power outages near Baldwin, and then 3,000 near Baldwin, and 1,000 power outages near Hillsborough.
Okay. And I hear some new warnings
I'm hearing
coming
more
across,
warnings
but
coming
there's
in.
2 tornado warnings right now, okay? Let's get you updated on the one that we think did probably touch down based on radar, had a little debris in the air west of 141 and 44. I don't see any debris out of this one right now. Well, maybe right there, coming into St. Louis Hills. Let me check this. It's a possibility it doesn't match up real well because it was there before, but it's right in this area coming into St. Louis Hills. There's actually 2 areas, one right here and one right here. One may just be a little surge of some strong winds. The other one that's up near Manchester, that's Highway 100 right there north of 44.
Uh-oh.
They just
That's our
issued
emergency alerts.
tornado warning for the city, right? Because it's
Yeah.
crossing into the city.
Crossing the city limits.
Yep. So if you just heard those alarms going off, that's our alarms here because we have a tornado warning in St. Louis City. It's an extension of exactly where I was telling you, where that rotation is, that I don't see any significant, real debris signature out of this. Keep me posted if you see anything from chat there too.
Yeah, I'm keeping a close eye on that.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Again, takes a team here. What I'm looking at here is a new tornado warning. It goes until 7:30. We've got it moving northeast at 40 miles an hour. And I mentioned Manchester 100. That's the Maplewood area. So it's north of 44, right around Manchester and the Maplewood area, and moving across the city limits into the city. And I'm going to switch over to the Doppler winds. I'm being real specific here because I want to pinpoint this for you, but you see Maplewood right on 100. That's where the potential tornado is. So if you're anywhere from around 44 and Manchester, that comes up towards the hill. If you're anywhere around Forest Park even, maybe near and south of Forest Park, like the Dogtown area, that's going to be in your neck of the woods very shortly. The hill, about 3 minutes. Dogtown area in about 7 minutes or so. Let's get rid of that, zoom out, and give you an idea of where this rotation's headed into the city, like downtown, in about 15 minutes. So if you have friends that are at the City SC game, you got to let them know this isn't just winds and rain and hail. There's a potential for a tornado. It's around the Maplewood area right now. It's not confirmed on the ground, although earlier we may have had a quick touchdown and some damage just west of 141 and 44 in the Fenton area. And it's headed their way. So what do they need to do? Not just inside and away from windows, but they're going to try to get to the lowest level somewhere. If you can't get to the lowest level, like a basement, then there's going to be storm shelters in City Park, that's bathrooms, or maybe get into, you got 15 minutes, so there's judgment call here, and hopefully they've had the KMOV weather app and they're already in a safe spot. But Union Station is right there as well. But there's tons of structures where you have to think about get inside, and then once I'm inside, away from windows, and then put as many walls between me and the outside. So you'd want to be in a spot that's in the interior part of the building. So if you walk into the lobby of a building, you want to go a little deeper into the building, maybe even into the stairwell area where you're putting as many walls between you and the outside. That's about 15 minutes, and you can help your friends and family if they're down in City Park, or just anyone who's out and about that's about to get hit by this. That rotation is not extremely strong, but they have continued it, so it still warrants. And of course, it has a history of producing, potentially, based on radar at least, what looked like a tornado. Let's switch over to the debris tracker. Don't see anything over Maplewood right now. That's good news.
I've been checking out the winds for that tornado warned storm that's to the south that's starting to move into Illinois, and I have noticed the winds tightening up ever so slightly, but I haven't seen anything on the debris tracker just yet.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Again, takes a team. Thank you, Leah. We mentioned Hillsborough. I want to go to that in 1 second. I just want to show you what's been happening here. So down here around 141, that's where we saw, based on radar, debris tracker, radar can see debris in the air. It looked like maybe a brief touchdown. Here's where it would be now. And it looks like, and I'm going to really slow this down, it looks like it may have kind of merged with a storm out ahead of it. So there it is now. Let's go back in time. Yeah, you see right there, something pops out ahead of it. The rotation was right there on the east side of Kirkwood. That's when I was mentioning to my son to get to the basement. Son, you're okay. You can get out of the basement. You're in the clear. Folks in Webster Groves, you're in the clear. And what is that from one of our Skycams, guys? Can you put the Barnes Jewish camera on input 1 for me? I got to get a closer look. I can't see from that small box, guys. They said, what are we seeing here? That's I-55, by the way. But we're going to switch it over to the BJC Skycam network from Barnes Jewish or Children's, whichever one's looking west. Can you do that for me, Leah? And then we'll
Barnes Jewish?
Yeah, let's do that one and see what they're looking at there. I'll get a better look.
Also check out input 2 over Ballpark Village, looking a bit west.
Looking to the west, yeah. Okay.
And then Barnes Jewish is in input 1.
Give it a second, give it a beat.
Let me zoom. Oh.
So looks like the cloud is here. You see how you can see a little bit here, but I can't see anything real specific, guys, other than the downpour there. You may have seen a little lowering of the clouds earlier, but I don't see that now. And Leah mentioned to check out input 2. We'll check that out. Shelf cloud here, that's Busch Stadium. There's Purina. And I don't see any lowering. That's good news. This is just a shelf cloud, but there's definitely going to be some real strong winds. What's happening is in this real dark area, you've got the rain pushing the rain-cooled air out ahead, and it's lifting up some of the warm air. And as that warm air comes up, it comes into these gnarly-looking scud clouds, little shelf cloud. But that's not anything that's harmless in the sense that it's not a tornado, but not harmless in the sense that at least it tells you, hey, there's some really strong winds back here coming your way, and the potential for some damaging winds and maybe some large hail. Want to get back to the radar, and still, you know what, that just flared up. Let's see where that came from. So around Dutchtown, I'm noticing a little rotation, and actually I'm going to switch over to the radar out of the airport. That has a shorter range. That doesn't do me much good, so I'm going to switch back. But around Dutchtown, I just noticed a little intensification. Here's what's happening. Along this line right here, we've been following one little spin up, and that little spin up is now right around Forest Park or so. But now there's another one that's flared up a little farther to the south right here. If I go back in time, the one we were tracking was right here in Kirkwood, and you can see where it would be on that line to the north. And then, so there's kind of two areas here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to track that line and just tell you timing, inside, away from windows, down in the basement, tornado safe shelter. So let's track that whole line there. We're going to move it about 30 miles per hour off to the east. So downtown, we're talking in 5 minutes. Cahokia Heights, that's in about 9 minutes. Granite City in about 12 minutes. Caseyville in about 25 minutes as it obviously crosses into Illinois. And the reason I'm doing this larger area as opposed to being real specific is because I'm noticing a couple areas of rotation along that line, and I don't want to leave anyone excluded. In fact, it looked a little more intense in the Dutchtown area in South City right there. And then there's another area of rotation right here coming into downtown. Let's keep the eyes on the BJC Skycam networks. That is downtown right now, looking west down Market Street. That's the Ballpark Village camera. Why don't you get me Shiloh in input 3 too and have that west.
And check out the storm near Peevely. Law enforcement just sent a report into our NWS chat, and they're saying numerous vehicles overturned on 55. Overturned
on 55 in Peevely. Remember when we were tracking that out of Hillsborough, we said Peevely was next. So that's that storm that now has warranted the tornado warning pushing into Monroe County and St. Clair County as well. But that has crossed 55 already, so any kind of damage in Peevely has been done. And there it is. That's earlier. This is older. I'm just trying to backtrack and see what happened, what it looked like. And that's about where it is right now. And what I'm going to do on this is I'm going to track this whole section, because if there's rotation of tornado, it's going to be right around here. But this farther to the south could be some real strong straight line winds. And I don't know which caused that damage, but we're going to put a track on it. And then before I do, let's get an idea of how fast this is moving. We're going to go at about 30 minutes ago. Just bear with me. I want to make sure you get the most accurate timing here. So that was at 24. That'd be at 50 miles per hour. And that thing has sped up quite a bit, let's see here. So 50, I have to back out a little bit. So at 50 miles an hour, it would have been right about here an hour ago. Yeah. See, and you can see it accelerate actually. I'm going to get rid of that now that I have an accurate timing. I see what happened. Man, it's bowing out. This one's really strong. So Monroe County, Waterloo, be inside, be away from windows, take shelter for a tornado, be out, down in the basement, lowest level if you don't have a basement. And not only that, but anywhere on the southern flank here, this is a bow echo. So it used to be kind of straight back here. And what happened is that line accelerated and it bowed out. The reason it accelerated is because, especially right, that's a rear inflow jet right there. So that rear inflow jet is basically telling me there's some really strong winds right here. And again, if there's cars flipped over on 55, I don't know that that wasn't just from straight line winds out of this section of the storm. It very well could be, or maybe there's a tornado buried on the northern flank of that as well. Let's track this for you and get you an idea. Now that I have a better idea of the timing, because this is a lot different speed than what's happening farther north in St. Louis. So at about 50 miles per hour, that's going to put it in Prairie to Rocher. That's going to be about a minute. Redbud, a few minutes. New Athens in about 12 minutes. You see some of the other cities from Marissa to Venity in about 20 to 28 minutes. That's going to come up on you quick. I mean, Redbud, we're talking just a few minutes or so. And the northern flank is where that threat for a tornado is, and there is a tornado warning. The whole line is warned, but it's that northern flank that I've been noticing any kind of rotation. Well, there's two areas actually that would be worthy. One would be right north of Waterloo, right here. And then let's watch this little guy that's trying to curl into and head towards New Athens. So,
Steve, also give an update about the storm that's up near Alton. I was just checking our cameras. We can see what looks like a little bit of a lowering, likely from a shelf cloud. But then I'm starting to see some early signatures of some possible rotation there.
okay. Let's also, why don't you put that Alton cam in input 3 and I'll check that out.
It's there now.
Before I go up there, I just want to check in on the Doppler winds here coming across the city. Remember, there's a lot of people that are taking shelter, and rightfully so. I don't see anything obvious on debris tracker right now. It's a little messy. But I don't see anything real obvious right there. And there is a threat, though, for a tornado coming right into downtown. You'll see, can you put, actually, I think I got it. Yeah, there is down, I mean, look at how pitch black down Market Street. So it's coming in to downtown in a matter of just minutes. I know it's raining now, but I'm talking about the worst part of it is coming into downtown now. And then we're going to go up to Alton and take a look up there. Leah was talking about definitely some lowering here, but nothing that's lowering down the ground in the form of a funnel cloud or even a rotating wall cloud at this point. Look, notice how quick, I mean, you could see the clouds moving. I mean, those winds are moving really quickly, and so they're pushing those clouds. But I see a little lowering off towards this side of the storm, but I don't see any rotation there. And that is not in a tornado warning, by the way. We go back to the warning map here. All right, big picture. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton, and this is First Alert Storm Mode coverage. Meteorologist Leah Hill at my side, and together we're tracking 2 tornado warnings. Looks like one of which is south of St. Louis and anywhere along this line that's coming into Waterloo, but especially around Waterloo, we want to be careful for tornado. If you're in that warning, you got the sirens, you got the alert in the KMOV weather app, take shelter now. Let's get you into the timing on this line, and I'll explain why I'm doing a line here in a second. This is moving at about 50 miles per hour, and that puts it in Redbud now, then Millstadt, then Smithton, then Freeburg, all in the next 15 minutes. So the reason I tracked this entire line and not a specific section is because even out here near and north of Redbud, we're seeing these small little circulations develop along the line. And so I want to make sure that all of those areas and not just one specific circulation is warned. Okay, we have another tornado warning. And will you do me a favor? Meteorologist Leah Hill has been kind of monitoring all the other severe thunderstorm warnings that I'm not focusing on. Will you be ready to kind
Yeah.
of chat those up and analyze those for us?
And check the debris tracker for that storm just east of the Mississippi River, just east of St. Louis,
Okay.
kind of near the Hecker or approaching New Athens.
New Athens.
New
yeah.
Athens, sorry.
That's a
Or a little bit south, sorry. A little
Yeah,
bit
that's
south
the
of
one
St.
a
Louis.
little farther south. And that was that newer circulation right here that I started to see, and I mentioned New Athens, so let's check that on debris tracker. Nothing obvious there, but if we go back, nothing real obvious there. We'll continue to monitor debris tracker. It tends to show debris flying in the air. And I like to also defer to the National Weather Service if they mention a tornado debris signature too, because they're going to be monitoring that a little closer. Let's switch back over to the radar and zoom into downtown. Check out the Doppler winds within the storm. And it's getting a little messy, but I mean, right downtown, there's a potential for a tornado to develop. I don't see anything on the ground. We're now getting rain into downtown. And eventually, any kind of threat is going to be out of downtown and move to the east as far as the threat of rotation goes. And it's all along this line. I mean, there are little circulations developing. There's one southeast of Cahokia. There's one. There's a little surge of wind, but not rotation coming into Millstadt. There's a little rotation north of Waterloo, and there's a little rotation just west of Hecker. And if I switch over to the Doppler winds, I can kind of highlight what I've been looking at for you. So I'm looking for little areas where the greens kind of bend into the reds a little bit. So there's one near Cahokia Heights. And that's different than the one that earlier potentially produced a brief tornado near 141 and 44. We haven't heard of any damage over there, have we?
Damage reports?
They're checking it out right now. We have crews. News 4's Alex Gall's in that area right
I
now.
haven't seen anything come into the chat. I do know we still have some power outages, but those probably were caused by the straight line winds earlier. They're saying there were some power outages around Valley Park earlier.
Okay, so and that actually is the same one. Now that I backtrack it, I can see that is the same one. I'm going to go back a little bit more. So this rotation that I've highlighted in the circle is where it is now. Where I'm showing you on the map is where it was. And that now that I can backtrack and look, that's exactly where it is. So that's like just due south of downtown and probably across the Mississippi River at this point. Let's zoom in and give you an idea of where exactly that's going to be. And I'll stop the loop for you. I mean, this thing crossed 55 in South City, just south of Gravois. Just south of the brewery, and it's into Sauget, probably moving to Sauget right now. Illinois Route 3 would be where this potential tornado would be crossing right about now, and that would be south of the PSB, Poplar Street Bridge. So the Poplar Street Bridge, let me zoom out a little bit so you can see this is right here. Here's Busch Stadium. So City Park would be here. City Park's in the clear from any kind of rotation now. The rotation's down here coming into Sauget, crossing Illinois Route 3. So downtown, Busch Stadium, heavy rain, winds, maybe some hail, but the rotation threat is actually just to the south. And that's that same rotation that was down around 44 and 141 that we suspect based on radar may have touched down and produced a tornado. So that's coming into Sauget now. Let's see where it's going next and moving to the east, northeast. We're going to put it at about 20 to 25 miles per hour. And I'd say it's more in a northeast trajectory. That gets it into these cities at these times. You see Golden Gardens in about 11 minutes, maybe into Caseyville and Fairview Heights in about 20 to 24 minutes as well. So on that trajectory, I think maybe near and south of Washington Park. So I think it's going to miss Washington Park. If you're in Belleville, this is going to miss you. This is going to be north. This would be around 64 in Illinois and 255 actually. And that's right there in the crosshairs of our little tracker cone. In fact, it just updated. As I get new data, I'm going to have to zoom in and kind of reanalyze here and show you exactly where it's at. It's moving into, it's basically, it has crossed into Illinois. It's going to cross 15 just north of 255. So here's 255, here's 15, and that rotation's moving right over that Golden Gardens. and it's going to cross 255 in a matter of minutes as well. Let me do this too to get a good idea of the speed. So there it is there. Let's go 30 minutes ago. And it was in Dutchtown. And then it was right here. There's been multiple areas of rotation along this line. There was one little flare-up near Kirkwood and Webster Heights that fizzled out. So there's what's happened as far as this rotation. That's about 17 miles in 30 minutes, so we're talking 34. So let's put it at a faster speed. And bear with me with analyzing this on the fly. It's just what I got to do to get you the most accurate timings on this. But now instead of 25, which was the last report, off to the northeast at about 35. So now we're talking Fairview Heights at 11 minutes. See how this matters? It matters that I get that exact speed, and different circulations or certain storms are going to move at different speeds, and that's been happening today. O'Fallon, Illinois, about 16 minutes. Do we have Shiloh up and looking to the west?
We should.
Why don't we put that in
put that up.
input 3? I'm going to take a look from downtown right now, and I'm actually going to...
Shiloh's in input 3.
Thank you. So that's downtown getting hit. Remember, the circulation's gone from downtown. It is east now of downtown, and I just punched in the camera looking east at the arch. So that would be the direction that rotation is. It's actually a little southeast of downtown. Then we go to Shiloh, the BJC Skycam network at Memorial Hospital Shiloh. Not there yet at this point, and that circulation, let's see, that circulation is, well, it's going to be close. We're going to monitor that camera. So if you're in Shiloh area, we'll monitor that for you as well.
Check out. I've been watching this storm for a little bit now. It's in Illinois. They're starting to report a potential rotating wall cloud.
Okay.
Or rotating funnel cloud. I'm sorry. This was.
There's a couple areas I'm watching.
Yeah, it was a ham radio report just south of Bethalto, Illinois.
Oh, Bethalto. Okay. So
it was a spotter via radio.
2. So I've got 3 areas of circulation, and the one in Bethalto, yeah, it doesn't look that strong. It probably was right about here, and there's no tornado warning in that. So we'll keep an eye on that. Will you do me a favor, keep an eye on that part of the storm? And these are the 3 well, nope, there's a 4th. There you go. These squall line tornadoes, and not to say that these are all tornadoes, they're not, but they spin up real quick and then they can fizzle out, and then all of a sudden they can strengthen. I have 4 signatures here of rotation along this line that could be producing a tornado. And if you switch over to the red boxes that show the tornado warnings, you see how it covers that entire line. So I think the line is warned very well. I'm going to switch back over to those Doppler winds and just go south, make sure our friends south know that I'm keeping an eye on you. And then I'm going to go a little farther north. And yeah, that's it. Those are the 4. So I spent some time focused on that one around Highway 15 and 63. Let's go here to New Athens and put a track on that. This one was moving a little quicker. And we'll put it at about 45 to 50 miles per hour. So New Athens in about 8 minutes, Fayetteville in about 14, St. Libory in about 19, and then Venady in about 24 minutes. That is in a tornado warning, and I believe that's the one that when it went through Peevely and Hillsborough, we heard reports of damage. I'm going to backtrack it here. And yep, so that has a history right there.
Is that the one near New Athens?
Yes, it's coming towards New Athens in a matter of minutes.
They're calling it a radar confirmed tornado?
Okay. So coming towards New Athens, radar confirmed. That little spot right there is why. That's debris tracker. That thing must have just popped up. There, 2 scans ago, and there, and it's coming right at New Athens now. So radar confirmed into New Athens. This little curl right here would be right inside that curl where the tornado is, and you'll want to be down in the basement. If you don't have a basement, you're going to hear me repeat this, and that's because, look, people in New Athens may not have been paying attention to this whole storm for the past hour, and they just got inside. They're turning on their TV. They're wondering what's going on. So down in the basement. If you don't have a basement, lowest level, put as many walls between you and the outside. Threat for a tornado, I would say right in or just north of New Athens. And that is in the tornado warning, where there's actually a few more circulations a little farther to the north. If I put the warnings on for you too, you're going to see kind of a darker shade border here. I just do that visually so I know that they indeed have issued the Weather Service has issued an observed tornado, but it's radar confirmed. So they may say observed, but it's actually just, they've got so much evidence from radar that they know that this is producing a tornado moving to the northeast at 50 to even 60 miles per hour. So let's put a track on that to give folks a little downstream a heads up. And I'm going to go from that little claw right there, 50 to 60. That's even a little faster now, northeast. St. Libory in 12 minutes, Oakville, Newtown popping up. That's why we do these tracks, continue to do the tracks, because new towns are going to pop up. Nashville, Illinois, in about a half hour, although I think it'd probably be a little farther north of Nashville. There's where the tornado is right now, coming at New Athens. That's the more immediate concern. And then Fayetteville after that, and then into, this would be Washington County, this would be Clinton County. That yellow line right there is Illinois 60, well, it's Interstate 64 in Illinois, and so it would maybe cross, I would say Oakville would be more in the crosshairs there in about 20 minutes. All right, let me go back up to the north and take a look at other circulations like the one that was in the Metro East that just crossed into downtown. In the meantime, meteorologist Leah Hill is in touch with our instant message chat, so we can pass information to the Weather Service. They can pass information to us, emergency managers, law enforcement. It's a great tool we use behind the scenes so that we can all help try to keep you safe, because it does take a village. I'm noticing a little circulation.
Yeah, check the debris tractor. Is that the one just a little bit near, near like Glen Carbon? Just kind of south of that area?
No, I'd have to go a little farther north for that. What are they saying?
Check the debris tractor on that one. It looks like there's some
What are they saying?
potential debris. They have some preliminary reports that of possible tornado spotting.
And who's that coming from?
That's coming from storm spotters.
From spotters, okay. And that's coming into the Weather Service through our chat?
Yes.
Okay, so into our chat, I don't see anything real obvious right there, although it's definitely in the tornado warning. I see circulation around 143, just east of Wood River. That might be what earlier we had some spotters reporting near Bethalto. Not exceptionally tight, but and just outside of the warning. And then if I switch over, get rid of that box and just switch over to the winds, that's not too intense either. So I'd say there's circulation along this line, but I don't see anything real obvious. And even in debris tracker, it's real messy. This is what I mean by messy. There's not one little concentrated spot where the debris tracker is really focused. And that again, is coming to us from spotters, not from the Weather Service guys and gals, right? So what we'll do here is I want to track that whole line there. I'll switch over to the warnings, and what I'm going to do is when I track this, I'm going to include this little section up here where I saw just a little bit of rotation. I'm going to go all the way down, and then we'll do the southern flank of this and get you an idea of some of the cities in the path of the leading edge. We have the BJC Skycam network from SIUE in Edwardsville as well. That gives you an idea, 7 minutes in Edwardsville. So maybe they have some raindrops there, but the heavier rain, and we'll have to watch these little circulations along the line in about 7 minutes. Let me get rid of the red boxes that show the warnings and just kind of simplify this for you. Moving off to the east, about 45, 50 miles an hour. The one farther south is going a little faster. So now 6 minutes in Edwardsville, Troy, Illinois in about 11 minutes, St. Jacob in about 19 minutes, eventually Highland in about 25 minutes. Again, tracking this line because there's little rotations along the line that could produce a tornado. And that is part of the tornado warning. I went a little farther north of it though. Okay, I'm gonna go a little farther south. And as I do, I notice a little surge near Belleville, so I want to investigate that before I do. Belleville in the tornado warning, and I see a circulation right over you, so you should already be in your shelter.
I just got a picture actually just a moment ago from Belleville. It was about 5 minutes ago. There does look to be a lowering. It's kind of hard to tell because it's a picture, not a video. But certainly a suspicious looking funnel type cloud. Hard to say if it's actually in contact with the ground, but
I see that on
given what we're
radar.
seeing.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
that
possible.
confirms, so what we're saying is we're seeing what looks like a picture. Are you getting that from public?
Yes.
So we're a picture of maybe a funnel cloud. I'm seeing on radar a little circulation here right around 159. If we street map this out, probably right around 159 and Gilbert Street, maybe just north of Main Street. We switch over to the Doppler winds, which this signature may be a little behind compared to the actual radar. So when I switch over to the radar, it's probably right about here. And that is now east of 15. Here's some new warnings coming in. So after I analyze this, let me get to you. And can you recap some of these warnings and make sure that even the severe thunderstorm warnings, our friends out there know what's going on? But I did see a circulation here that looked a little more intense and worthy of investigating. And that's going to be crossing 159 very near, there's Main Street, very near and maybe north of Main Street. So from Main Street, 159 north, obviously in your safe shelter. Want you down in the basement. If you don't have a basement, you're looking for the lowest level. I think this just updated. And it did. And I think that circulation really weakened and boom, jumped to the north. And this is going to be right around our camera. Can you, is Shiloh in input 3?
It should still, yeah, Shiloh's in input 3.
Yeah. So this is pretty much going over Memorial Hospital Shiloh and the BJC Skycam network. Usually we can see St. Clair, the church across the street, the parish, and you can't even see that. Let's see here. Let me go back to the radar. That thing really jumped. That moved really quickly. But that was right around Belleville. And now that we're analyzing this like right here, and now it's up here. And Belleville's in the clear now. Let's go to the radar. I mean, any kind of rotation, it's farther to the east now of you. You're getting hammered with heavy rain. You've got maybe some 60-mile-an-hour winds, some hail, so stay inside. But as far as that rotation goes, it's going to be to the east. Going to go back down to New Athens and just check that one out real quick. Circulation's north of New Athens. It's in between Freeburg and Fayetteville. It's right around here, and it's about to cross 15, and then eventually 4. This is Illinois 4 that goes out of Fayetteville north. And it doesn't look particularly strong, but still strong enough to keep that tornado warning going. Got some new information?
Yeah, I don't think we've touched on this one yet. But in Madison County, Macoupin County, and Jersey County, just up to the north, new tornado warning.
I think that's that flank, that northern flank that I included in the track because it looked suspicious.
That's what I've been watching for the last 30 minutes with that weak rotation.
Yeah, and you're going to see us switch over to these, the green and the reds. It just tries to help us pinpoint where rotation might be. But the brand new warning here is right southwest of Shipman, right around there is where that rotation would be. But you see how they included that entire line here. And so what I'm going to do is include that entire line too. Let's get an idea of, thank you, Leah, for drawing my attention to that. 8 o'clock, it goes until 8 o'clock northeast at 35 miles per hour. So we're going to track that, see when it gets into Staunton area, probably in about a half hour. So Meadowbrook, this is Meadowbrook, Illinois, and about now. Shipman, I mentioned you, and I mentioned how the rotation was just to your southwest. You need to be in your tornado shelter. It's not the strongest signature ever, but it is a tornado warning along the leading edge of these squall lines. I'm telling you, these squall lines, sometimes they show little areas of circulation, and nothing ends up happening. And then sometimes they really intensified. It may only be for 4 or 5 miles it's on the ground, but we want you warned, we want you alert, and we want you safe. So that's why we're still on the air, as this is now in Illinois. Shipman in your tornado shelter, in your safe spot, basement, lowest level with as many walls between you and the outside. Bunker Hill, about 11 minutes. Dorchester, you see eventually, and Gillespie as well in about 20 minutes. That particular new tornado warning in the Metro East, let's see, that warning is for northern Madison. Technically they've got Jersey County in it. It's out of Jersey. It's done. The rotation's right here. It's really in south central Macoupin County. And then that extends up in between, very near Shipman, and probably north of Staunton is where that rotation's going to go. But again, we got to watch that entire line just in case a new rotation develops on the farther south flank there. And and that is radar indicated again as well. So moving to the northeast at 35. Also, that new tornado warning, 62,000 people in it. I mean, it's radar indicated, but we got 62,000 people, new people that have sirens going off. So we've had a lot of people have had sirens going off, and now we have 62,000 new ones. That's why we're still on the air here. So let's continue to go down south and check out some of the rotations. Actually, I want to have you kind of recap for me, because I know we've got some new warnings coming in. So I'm going to hand the radar off to you and let you recap some of these warnings we have, and I'll be checking in on things behind the scenes. And
yeah, I've gotten a lot of questions about these warnings, and I've had some questions from people a bit concerned about what's going on in St. Francis County and St. Genevieve County. A lot of heavy rain there, you'll notice, to the south, and if I turn on the lightning tracker, a lot of lightning with these storms, but the severe portion of the storm is actually starting to cross the river. So Farmington, the worst of the storm will be out of your area very shortly. There is a severe warning storm that's impacting Chester, and let me put the map, or put the areas impacted: Monroe County, Randolph, and St. Clair County. So just a severe thunderstorm warning for those counties. No tornado warnings there. We've been focusing on the tornado warnings because that's kind of the quick threat. We get these quick potential tornadoes that develop, so we've been giving them a lot of attention. But I just want to let you know that down south, St. Clair County, St. Francis County, St. Genevieve, you guys are within that severe thunderstorm warning. But similar to how you would treat any warning, you want to make sure that you stay inside while all of this is going on. It's going to be very noisy, very windy, and you're likely still hearing some small hail pinging against your house. And then additionally, the threats and the areas of rotation that we're watching crossing over into Illinois. So that's why we're still on the air. They're approaching some populated areas. And they actually just clipped a couple counties from that warning. So that's good to see that some of those counties within the warning on the Missouri side have now been dropped. But there's 3 areas of tornado warning. So I'm just going to go through them individually, starting with counties up to the north. And you might have already heard the sirens go off, or your phones might have gone off. So hopefully you're already in your safe shelter. But from Jersey, Macoupin to even into Madison County, 62,000 people are included within that tornado warning. And then just to the south, this one just updated a warning until 8 p.m. Bond, Madison, Montgomery County. And then we've also been tracking the rotation even further south, and this includes Clinton, Randolph, St. Clair, and Washington County, all included within those tornado warnings. So the big focus is what's going on the east side of the river, because that's where a lot of these tornado warnings currently are. And then the rest of us on the west side of the river, now we're just going to be feeling the impacts of very heavy rain, even some ponding on roads, some minor flooding in some areas, and then of course a lot of lightning. And then we still have those severe warning storms to the south that are starting to move into Illinois as well.
A lot of red boxes. Those are all tornado warnings, and that's a huge area. Let me explain what's happening. I'm going to get rid of the boxes. Actually, one thing I'm going to do here is just get rid of the boxes and loop this. You're going to see this line, and along this line, we're getting these little circulations that pop up. They fizzle out. Then another one pops up. Some of them last for maybe 10, 20 miles, and then it fizzles out, and another one pops up. That's why we have so many boxes, because the bottom line is anywhere from around this line through, from the north, even through Sparta to the south, there's a potential for circulation to create a tornado. So with that said, let's play it safe rather than sorry and just track the whole line for you. The northern flank of the line here, I'm going to move that at about 45 to 50 miles per hour. Bunker Hill now, St. Jacob, Staunton in 8 minutes, Highland in 13 minutes. If you're in St. Louis City, we are in the clear from any rotation, or even the damaging winds are now moving to the east. Now you just have to deal with lightning and rain. You're in the clear. St. Jacob, you've got a line coming in that could produce a tornado, also damaging winds and some hail. Let's get rid of that. And then we'll focus on this smaller section of the line. Actually, you know what? I'm going to have to zoom in on this, because there's 2 things going on here. And one is a little surge. We got 55 south of Peevely is what you're looking at on your screen right there. There's a little surge. We'll put that at 55. That little surge, or a little bow right there, is strong winds. And again, northern flank, southern flank of that, maybe some rotation. Lebanon in about a minute, New Baden in about 4 minutes. All these cities I'm mentioning are in tornado warnings. So I just want you, when you hear your city, to know you need to be taking those tornado precautions, even if a circulation hasn't developed yet. It could. So that's why we're going through this entire line and just playing it safe rather than sorry. And then if I go down the southern flank of this line, this thing's moving a little faster. And I'm actually going to go even outside of where the tornado warning is, even down to Chester here, just to give you an idea of timing. This one's moving a little faster, 55 to 60 miles per hour. Coulterville now, Oakville, Illinois in about 5 minutes, and I'm going to investigate that, a certain section of line here in a second. Nashville in about 13 minutes, Baku in about 18 minutes. And again, that's 55. Is that Peevely, guys? Yep, Peevely and 55. That's an area where we heard reports of cars rolled, and we don't know if that was some real strong winds or maybe a tornado. We just don't know at this point. But there certainly was rotation, and there certainly was a signature for some real strong winds. Speaking of signatures, I see a signature for, the best signature for possible tornadoes now east of New Athens, Illinois, and headed towards Oakville. That's why when I mentioned Oakville, I said I want to investigate that. And there it is, highlighted right here. It's going to be near and just west of St. Laborie. This dark line is the line as you go into Washington County, Illinois, and this dark line is as you go into Clinton County, and I think that's moving a little more northeast. So let me just investigate that. Go back. Yeah, northeast. So we'll put it northeast, and the northern flank of some really strong winds. The red you see here are straight line winds. Right there, that's coming into Washington County. Then on the northern flank, there's some rotation and a possible tornado. So you have the threat of damaging winds here, the threat of a tornado here. It's now northeast of New Athens. If you're in New Athens, you're in the clear. If you're in Oakville, you need to be taking action and be in your safe shelter let's put this, will you type in 45 for me there? I think the northern flank might be going a little slower. Thank you, Leah. I've got it about 16 minutes into Oakville. This section is going to go a little faster, and we'll have to watch for any circulations that develop along that as well, but that's probably moving at more of a 50 to 60. And so I've mapped out two things here for you. The 16 minutes is Oakville rotation coming it's already northeast of New Athens, very near Venity, 16 minutes, and then it'll be about 20 minutes crossing Interstate 64 in Washington County. Then I've tracked, and that's the cities you're going to see here on the list, tracked the threat for some strong damaging straight line winds, and that would be Oakdale in 10 minutes, Nashville in 16, Baku in about 21. So just kind of analyzing this specific, actually, see how it jumped? So I was tracking it when it was here, now it's here. I got to get you the latest update. In fact, I'll switch over to you can even see that little bow right there. That's where the strongest winds are. And then the rotation would be back right in here in that northwestern corner of Washington County. So let's put the track once again, 55 to 60 here. Now it's Oakdale in 2 minutes. Oakville, you're on the northern flank of some of those real strong winds, but I'm also worried about the rotation coming your way. And then that rotation's probably just a few minutes now away from Oakville. It's right here. So south of 160. If you're in Venity, I believe this is going to be just on you or northeast of you. There's Venity. St. Laborie, you're in the clear. Come on, pop up. There you go, Venity. County Highway 12 and 160. Northwestern Washington County. Okay, so that appears to me to be the strongest circulation that I've seen out of that line. I mapped out that whole line and timed out the whole line because there's tornado warnings along this line, but that's where the strongest circulation is. And you know what? It's looking a little less organized in this section of the line right here. It's looking a little more ragged. I mean, there's still threat for some strong winds. We got to monitor the circulation, but it doesn't look as put together, as organized as the southern flank, which has this bow echo right here with those real strong winds that I was pinpointing, and then of course the rotation on the northern flank. we've been through a lot today, and we've been on the air a lot. I just want to take a big picture look here and show you what's going on.
Can I our viewers
Yep.
in St. Francis and St. Genevieve County, they might have just heard the sirens go off, but there are no tornado warnings there, and there are no severe thunderstorm warnings there. So it looks like, from what I'm reading, the NWS chat, again, that's our meteorologists and the National Weather Service, the ones that issue the warnings. We all work together. We're in this instant messenger where we give each other reports, and emergency managers are in this too. An emergency manager says he's not sure why the sirens activated in
Yeah.
Farmington and across St. Francis and St. Genevieve County. It looks like they're possibly testing out some new technology, and maybe they went off when they weren't supposed to. So just wanted to let the viewers know there. You might have heard the sirens, but at present we don't have any severe warning storms there or tornado warnings.
Great information. Thank you. Thank you. Leah's monitoring our instant message chat with the Weather Service, the BJC Sky Cams, any kind of new warnings that come in too, and drawing my attention if something develops. So there's a lot, and it takes a team, but I'm going to continue to analyze the radar, and I can tell you that the strongest storms are southeast of Farmington. You've just got harmless rain going on right now, so she's absolutely right. I'm not sure why the sirens went off there. Strongest storms are down in Perry County, actually, and even there's no warnings right now. So bottom line is we've been through a lot. A lot of people have had things disrupted, St. Louis City game disrupted, activities disrupted. I get that, but I just want you to know that from this line, and I'll draw it a little more clearly, from this line, I got to wait for the radar update, and to the west, no severe weather anymore. You're done. I know we've got rain. I know that disrupts plans, but I want you to know that you're not going to get any more warnings. St. Louis, we're in the clear. Alton, you're in the clear. Festus, Hillsborough, where we have had some reports of damage, and we've had sporadic reports of damage, even in Sullivan, in the clear, okay? So this line into the west, no severe weather. This line into the east, still in our coverage area. That's why we're still on the air, as we have a lot of people that are dealing with tornado warnings. And in fact, here's one of the warnings. Washington County has 80,000 people in the warning. That one goes all the way up into Clinton, Randolph, St. Clair, Washington counties. And then there's another smaller one on the northern flank, but that has almost 52,000 people. So you're talking about 120,000 people that are under tornado warnings right now. We've had a history of some damage. So know that while you're in the clear in St. Louis and Chesterfield, Sullivan, Rolla, we've got friends in our coverage area that are depending on us. So we're going to stick with this as long as we have these tornado warnings going. And again, history of damage with some of these. So the question is, where would we see damage out of this line? Let's get back to analyzing and tracking the radar and make sure that you're prepared and alert. We'll zoom in a little bit. Lots of red boxes there and lots of tornado warnings. But like I said, the bottom line is anywhere along the leading edge of this line is where we can get these spin-ups or circulations. And by the way, when I say spin-ups, they form a little differently than classic supercell, really violent type tornadoes. They form differently, and they're typically more on the order of a EF0, EF1 type tornado. Sometimes you get an EF2, EF3 out of it, but it typically is more of the lower end. So if we do see tornado damage, not always, but typically it tends to be on the lower end when it's on these squall line type tornadoes that spin up along the leading edge. We'll have to keep an eye on this just east of Hamel, near and northwest of Grant Fork. You see a little inflow into here, not real strong right now, but we'll check in on the debris tracker too. That's always a useful tool. But no obvious signature there. Going back down the line and switching over to those Doppler winds, just trying to analyze where we might see any kind of rotation. I highlighted one right here near Grant Fork. I'm going down the line. I don't see anything real significant there. And then we'll monitor this, that coming into Oakville, looks like it may have weakened quite a bit. I'd say it's just on the west side of town, but let me switch over to the radar. Yeah, it would be right about here. And it does look a little weaker. Remember, that's the northern side of, as you go a little farther south, I think there's some real strong straight line winds there. And in fact, I'll go a little farther south. Those straight line winds are going to impact that. Most of Washington County, see how this bows out here? That's where the strong winds are, especially right here. So that would be like the Washington County lake, south of Nashville. That's going to get hit by some strong winds here, maybe some damaging winds. So anywhere along 127 in the next few minutes, anticipate some strong winds, be inside away from windows. We do have you in a tornado warning, and I think the best thing to do is definitely just head down to the tornado shelter to play it safe rather than sorry. The area that, if we're going to see something develop, would tornado-wise at least, would be right about here, just southwest of Nashville. Not a real strong signature, but I do notice a little notch, a little inflow. And what that is it's, I'll show you what I'm trying to pinpoint here, because these squalling tornadoes are very transient. They happen, they disappear, they happen, they disappear. And so you're just trying to anticipate them by looking for signatures on radar. And what I'm noticing is that little notch is inflow, or air that's coming into the storm. And then the yellow and the oranges are air that's coming out of the storm, and because it's coming out, it's pushing the raindrops out. And so that just tells me, yeah, there's a little circulation there, and we are under a tornado warning. So in Nashville, especially in the south side of town and down to Washington County Lake, let's be in our safe shelter as you have a radar indicated tornado warning, on top of the fact that right here, this potential for some hail and real strong winds a little farther south. So that is a nasty storm that's coming through Washington County, Illinois right now. And I'd say, just visually looking at everything, I'd say that's probably the strongest storm we have going on right now. I mentioned the storms were down in Perry County. They did actually end up issuing a tornado warning on that, but that still wouldn't warrant there's a tornado warning. It's outside of our coverage area, although some people can get us on an antenna, I think, sometimes down there. You got to be high up. But anyway, Farmington, I don't know why your sirens would have gone off. I don't know. That is a tornado warning down in Perry County. We still have some severe thunderstorm warnings from Sparta to Chester, and a wind check on the Doppler winds there. I'll monitor this little spot east of Chester, but right now this looks more like just a wind surge, a little inflow, nothing real significant that would warrant a tornado warning. There is no tornado warning on this part of the storm. There is on this part of the storm, and again, I think that's our strongest storm going, as we have maybe a little circulation here, another weaker one that's weakening near Oakville, and then real strong straight line winds associated with that moving through Nashville pretty much now. So that's the strongest one. If I come up a little closer to the Metro East, St. Louis, heavy rain, but totally in the clear. Highland, not in the clear yet. You still have heavy rain coming your way, and I'm going to switch over to the Doppler winds. I don't see a real significant circulation, but again, anywhere along this line, we just have to be vigilant, and you see that line right there coming at Highland in the next few minutes. So if you're in Highland, it's encouraging to know that even though you're in a tornado warning right now, I don't see anything spinning coming your way immediately, but I do see that line. So just play it safe, go down to the basement, let this pass. I mean, this isn't going to take long, and then it'll be gone. The threat will be gone, because remember, the leading edge of this line is where we're watching for a possible tornado and the strongest winds, and the threat for any kind of hail out of these cores too. It's kind of this leading edge of the line. That's hitting Livingston right now. It's not quite into Litchfield yet, but let's switch over to the Doppler winds. And still, I mentioned Grant Fork and east of Hamel. Now it's Alhambra. There's a little circulation there. If you're in Alhambra and you were kind of hesitant to be in the basement, you got a little circulation coming in right now. Be down in the basement, lowest level if you don't have a basement, where you're putting as many walls between you and the outside. Again, I know I'm saying that a lot. There could be people in Alhambra that just got back from a kids' baseball game and it was east, right, where there's no rain, or from a friend's house barbecue, whatever. They get in, they turn us on, and all of a sudden they hear me say circulation, they're hearing sirens, and they're freaking out. I'm here to help you. I want to make sure that you're prepared and not scared. So here's the deal. That's rotation. It's not a guarantee that that's a tornado. It's radar indicated. It's coming into Alhambra. We just want you inside and down in your safe shelter as that passes through. This whole line has a potential to create these little circulations. And so what I'm doing is I'm kind of scanning north and south, looking for these spots. Here's another one southwest of Staunton, and then here's another one just east of Bunker Hill. These things can spin up and create a brief tornado, and we may have had one, although the circulation on that weakened and strengthened, but it was kind of there from Valley Park and 141 in St. Louis Metro. And I haven't heard, we heard of power outages in Valley Park. We haven't heard of, yeah. Okay, so we're,
Kirkwood might also be seeing some power outages.
in Kirkwood power outages too, okay. But here's the deal. if we had a big, bad, nasty tornado in Valley Park, we would know by now. We would be hearing structural damage, cars rolled over. I've heard that before, unfortunately, on the New Year's Eve tornado. So the fact that I'm not getting these reports, and please correct me if I'm wrong, we've got David Amilati on the news desk too, and he's in touch with the newsroom. So please correct me if I'm wrong, but we haven't heard of any, at least from that Valley Park area, significant damage. That's great. I just heard from my producer, no significant damage. They did check it out. There are some power outages, and we've put crews out there. So that, I mean, again, this is great. There was a tornado warning. And the newsroom has been trying to gather some of that information. And David, if you have a second, would you mind letting us know and letting our viewers know what we have heard as far as any kind of damage reports?
Sure. So right now we're getting a lot of reports of damage, and of course we're tracking this as everything's progressed from the east across the metro to the west. Looking at outages right now, though, we do have some updates from Ameren, Missouri. 32,000 plus customers right now without power. So the three biggest areas that we're seeing with power outages right now, looking at St. Louis County, 16,000 plus residents without power. Jefferson County, just shy of 11,500 residents there, 11,500 customers without power. And of course, city of St. Louis right now, 2,300 folks without power as of right now. Over in the Metro East, several areas dealing with outages as well, but the Metro East, we're seeing St. Clair with just over 1,100 people right now without power. So that's what we know right now as far as power outages are concerned. I can tell you that we have crews right now. We have one heading to Peevely for a tractor trailer that supposedly flipped over on 55. So we're going to check that out. We have a crew on the route to that. We also have a second crew heading to Baldwin. We have reports of damage to the rec center there. The indoor pool has been damaged. You're taking a look at 55 at Peevely right now here on your screen, and you're seeing emergency lights on right now. We have emergency crews on the scene. You're seeing traffic slowed on your screen right now. Again, this is at 55 and Peevely. Crews heading there right now. Also want to give an update. We mentioned the City SC game happening in the downtown area tonight. Steve, right now that game is in a weather delay because of lightning in the area.
I figure, and anyone down at the City SC game, or you have friends down there, maybe you're in Union Station now watching us on TV, you are in the clear as far as any kind of tornado threat, severe winds, or hail. You're done. It is now simply rain and lightning especially is the reason why. So just a heads up that the still quite a bit of lightning, as you'll see here, a ton on the leading edge of this line, but there's still quite a bit of lightning across St. Louis on the back edge of the line. But as far as any kind of threat for severe weather goes, it is only going to be along the leading edge right in here. This is it. And to the east, okay? So anywhere west, you are in the clear. You still have rain, you still have lightning. Anywhere along this line, let's still keep an eye out for a threat of a tornado, damaging winds, and maybe some hail out of this as well, though I haven't heard a lot of hail reports. I think this has turned into now a squall line, which is usually damaging winds and these typically weaker end of spin-up type tornadoes, and we still have to be on guard for that. Speaking of being on guard for that, I want to zoom in and check out this storm that I think is the strongest storm going in Washington County, Illinois. The one in Clinton County has weakened quite a bit. I'm going to zoom in and turn on the Doppler winds. We still notice some little weak areas, and this one's kind of new now north of Nashville, and then here's another one south of Nashville. That's the way this is going to go, and that's okay because they're weak and smaller. Now, if it intensifies and it looks big and nasty, that's not good. Easier to track, easier to tell you exactly where the rotation potential tornado is, but at this point, these are little circulations, and sometimes it's a brief spin up of the tornado along the leading edge of that line, which has hit Nashville. I'd say right south and southeast of Nashville, and there in that little inflow notch is where you'd have the best chance for a tornado to develop. And if I just look back in time and then go forward in time, this thing is moving a little more northeast. So if you are in Clinton County, especially the southeastern half of Clinton County, you're going to get hit by this. So that's going to come up towards near and southeast of Carlisle and right into Centralia. And so I'm going to go to the leading edge of the rain here, and I'm going to go a little more northeast, 50 to 60. Baku right now, Hoyleton in about 4 minutes, and Centralia, I mentioned, that's about 16 minutes. And what we'll do is we'll see if the National Weather Service, sees these little circulations like right here and even one a little north of Nashville near the interstate, and sees if they warrant considering keeping the tornado warning going farther to the east. But right now, you'll notice how it's been cut down. So if you're in Oakville and west, you're getting rain, but the tornado warning has now been shaved, cut down from here and to the east. The reason it stops here is the National Weather Service out of St. Louis doesn't cover, I think it's Jefferson County in Illinois, so that would be a different, different National Weather Service. And we'll see if they do cover Marion County. We'll see if they extend it farther east. But it's that leading edge of that line, weaker in this section, stronger in this section as it moves off to the northeast. News 4's Alex Gall is on the scene of some damage. Where are you at right now? What are you seeing, Alex?
Steve, this is in Baldwin, Missouri. This is the indoor pool here at the local rec center. This is the point, and you can see the entire section of glass on the this side of the pool on the left side of your screen has been completely, it is gone. There's some glass panels there in front of those bushes that you're seeing in front of our car right now. It looks like some storm damage in this area, and the city of Baldwin has posted on Facebook about this, that the pool is, of course, closed until further notice for this storm damage.
All right, thank you, Alex, for reporting that. Big, large span roof, big glass. It could just be straight line wind damage, and my guess is that's probably, or what it also could be too, is a lot of that glass could be broken by hail. And one of the things that I think very smartly meteorologist Leah Hill was pointing out when we were really in the heat of the hail, remember we don't have many hail reports now. I think this has turned into more of a squall line, damaging wind and spin up tornadoes. But she was saying, hey, if you have golf ball size hail and 60, 70 mile an hour winds, the thrust of those winds pushing the golf ball size hail makes it even more dangerous versus the golf ball size hail just boom, collapsing and falling. So when you have those gusts along with the hail, it makes it even more destructive. And maybe that's what happened there, especially when I see all that glass. Maybe that's what happened. And I do recall a hail core that was tracking into that Baldwin area. Do you have any kind of new information coming in, Leah?
A little bit. I've been kind of analyzing the storms in Macoupin and Montgomery counties, and the National Weather Service is also noticing this, that the overall structure of that part of the storm is starting to weaken. And if you look up to the north a little bit, they've extended a severe thunderstorm warning as opposed to a tornado warning. So that's good news. That's what we want to see. They're starting to downgrade things. Still a threat if you're within those counties.
Great news for Litchfield. This section of the storm here, instead of extending the red box and thus radar indicated tornado warning, now it's just a yellow box. Okay, so that's still inside, away from windows, and let's still monitor it. And keep an eye on any kind of rotation that could develop up there. But it's good to see that there's nothing real significant up there. We still have tornado warnings going, though, for a good portion of our coverage area. And boy, it's been a long day as we track this line. Let me show you the bigger picture here, too. This is going to be 5-hour loop of radar data as you see it really explode. It had a little isolated cell that hit Union, and then it merged with the main line. There's the isolated thing, and then there's that main line. And it's been producing little circulations all along that line, including right around 141 and 44, where we haven't heard of any real bad damage, but we did see on radar a debris signature. So from the Weather Service telling us, hey, you've got confirmed based on radar, you see enough data. It may have just been a brief touchdown. It may have just been some roof shingles in the air and maybe some tree branches. But what we do know is that it hasn't been any real significant damage because nothing has been reported in that regard. And that circulation weakened, strengthened, new ones developed, and it all came right through St. Louis on a Saturday evening with a lot of people outdoors, and I haven't heard of any injuries, and that's just kudos to everybody out there that's getting the alerts, staying prepared, and making sure that you're safe. Really appreciate it, and we're going to continue to make sure our friends in Centralia are safe as you're still right next to a tornado warning. It is in Clinton County, Carlisle. You're going to be hit by a weaker part of the storm. This storm actually looks like it may be radar confirmed now. Did you notice that come in on chat?
Yeah, it just came in within the last 30 seconds.
Okay. Emergency manager confirmed a tornado north of Nashville. Do you have any more information on chat out of that?
Not at present.
Okay. So the reason you see kind of a darker box and a shade is it's confirmed, but it's not radar confirmed. It's actually confirmed by emergency manager. And you'll recall there were two little circulations I was tracking there. One was south of Nashville and one was north. And they, here's one right around the interstate. And here was one south near Washington County Lake. Here's one just south of town too. These are the type of small circulations that can develop a tornado. And it sounds like emergency manager, and this is old data here. This is as of about 7:33. It's 7:43 right now. So that's 10 minutes ago, just north of Nashville, reported a tornado. Let's go forward in time and see what those Doppler winds look like. And see if it's straight up and down like that, that's good. It's when it curves in, that's where you want to watch for a possible tornado. So that would be northeast of New Minden now. And if I switch over to the regular radar, that if it's, I don't see any real significant inflow notch there too. I wonder if something did touch down briefly.
Look, near Nashville, almost looks like a little bit of a debris.
Yeah, but that's a little messy, and that actually could be just dust getting kicked up by the strong winds. I can't tell if that's an actual debris signature or not, but if what it is, though, is it's radar saying, hey, there's some stuff in the air that's not all the same shape. It's not a classic tornado debris signature, but it is telling us maybe some dust got kicked up, or maybe a brief tornado did touch down and threw up some leaves in the air and some tree branches, and then this is what it looks like now. Much calmer look, more conformity to what's in the air. So that would mean more just raindrops and maybe some hail. And so that's good news, that if something did touch down, I think I use that term transient. And I told you when we did this, a month or two ago with tornadoes like this, or actually even back in May, when we had those brief weak tornadoes in Kirkwood, Creve Coeur, it's almost like whack-a-mole. These flare up and they fizzle out, and then there's a new circulation. I got to go chase that. And so sometimes what I do is while I chase it, I want to find those circulations for you. Sometimes I also think it's best to just give you the big picture and give you the big track and let you know where this thing is going, and anywhere along this leading edge line, we can get those circulations that develop a tornado. And that's what I'm going to do right now. And especially since this is getting closer and closer to Centralia, I'm going to push it northeast at about 50, 55. So Centralia, that's going to be in about 9 minutes now. Before then, Ashley, pretty much now in Irvington in about 4 minutes. Again, I'm not seeing real strong circulations, but anywhere along this line, that can just flare up. Typically, when you get these spin-up type tornadoes, they're not the long-lasting 30-mile supercell devastating tornadoes. They're just not. Sometimes they can be in the EF2, EF3 range. Most of the time they're in the lower end. That EF scale is a damage scale. 0 is the weakest damage, and usually they're in that lower EF0 to EF1. And it's sounding to me like so far what we've been through tonight, and I just say so far, that if there's been any tornado touchdowns, they've been brief and generally on the weak side, although, around Sullivan and then around Hillsborough and then around Peevely, I'm interested a little more in specifically what that damage looks like, because those were 3 areas that got hit by what on radar looked like a little stronger rotation, and we're still not to the point where maybe in the daylight we know exactly what the damage looks like. Speaking of damage, there's going to be no more damage in Alton, Belleville, Highland. I believe you're in the clear now. Let me double check that. Yeah, you're in the clear now. I know you got heavy rain, I know, but the leading edge of this storm is now east of you. Lebanon, O'Fallon, Belleville, all in the clear. Oakville, Illinois, in the clear. Nashville, heavy rain and maybe some damaging winds still on you. So give it a beat, and it's going to be out of your neck of the woods, okay? Maybe about 5 minutes, it's done. New Athens, Waterloo, Festus, Peevely, all you're dealing with in this area is a threat of lightning. So if there is any kind of damage, know that that's still a threat, and that you don't want to walk out and be hit by lightning. It's happened before, tragically, after the worst part of the storm has passed, but there's still some lightning. As I turn on the lightning locator, you'll see some of that there, and actually I'll just remove the radar. It's just a little easier to see. And even if I kind of tell the radar, hey, just tell me, like in St. Louis, St. Charles, part of the metro here, we've had 28 strikes in the past 15 minutes, right? So you're getting 2 strikes a minute just over there. So we're not done with lightning, but we are done with any kind of severe threat. That's off to the east. But we do have tornado warnings. And of course, there was an emergency manager who saw one touchdown just north of Nashville. And that section of the storm is right here coming towards Centralia. So right in there is the spot I want to watch. and keep an eye on for possible tornado. And I hear some new warnings coming across. Do we have some flash flood warnings come out too while we?
I was just about to draw your attention to that. We are starting to see some flash flood warnings starting to pop up and creep along 6440 and even along 44. We're starting to see some of those warnings. I'm trying to follow along with you. But what we've noticed is that the storms have continued to train over those areas. So even while the severe threat has ended for those spots, the heavy rain threat cannot be ignored, and the flooding threat, ponding on roads, even swollen creeks, lower lying areas. Those are all things that you still need to be aware of if you're from Sullivan, even all the way up north into Chesterfield. And my concern is as these storms continue to train over downtown, that we could be seeing additional flooding concerns around this area. So just be cautious for anybody who was out driving. Wouldn't recommend driving through those flooded roads, or maybe just postpone your travel until all of this has cleared out, because it's still very active out there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm telling you, there's a lot to ingest here, and it's great having meteorologist Leah Hill to help us out. Okay, so that's where the flash flood warnings are. Here's some good news I just noticed. See these yellow boxes? Those are severe thunderstorm warnings, and that means the Weather Service, even though this is a radar or a confirmed tornado earlier by an emergency manager, they're not extending it into Marion County. So that's good news. Although I got to tell you, if you're in Centralia, you got to be careful. This thing's going to come in and hit with maybe 60-mile-an-hour winds, and we'll have to watch for maybe a little circulation near you. I don't think it's real strong right now. Obviously, it's not. Otherwise, the Weather Service would have issued a tornado warning for you. But it's definitely just something to kind of keep an eye on, and this little notch right there. But the fact that this red box doesn't continue to the east means, hey, the threat for a tornado looks lower. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of those. Whew, sorry, I don't know if you can hear that or feel it, but we're down in Market Street, one Memorial, and man, the whole place just shook. That was loud thunder. Okay, so even we were getting hit by that thunder, but of course we're safe from any kind of damaging winds, anything like that out of St. Louis. So the fact that that red box hasn't transferred is good news. It doesn't go farther off towards the rest into Marion County, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's what they call a tornado possible. I'll check that out and see. If it is, it is. So this is a severe thunderstorm warning for 60-mile-an-hour winds, maybe some quarter-size hail, and a tornado possible. And what they're trying to say is, look, along the leading edge here, we still may see a tornado develop, but it doesn't look like anything's imminent, nothing's strong enough or organized along that line right now to warrant extending the tornado warning. That is good news. It doesn't mean we're going to stop watching this closely, and especially as we get into Marion County here. That comes through Centralia, that little notch. In fact, I'll get rid of the boxes and just show you exactly what I'm talking about. That little notch right here. Just got to watch those little areas of inflow. And what that is I'll draw it for you so you can see it better. It's just air coming into the storm like this, and then there's air coming out of the storm like this. So there's a little rotation right there. Not going to extend the tornado warning. That's great news because it's not strong enough, but it's just something we need to watch. And as far as timing goes on this, let's see, it's about 7:51 here. About 8 p.m. we're probably going to bow out because this thing is weakening a little bit. But the latest timing on this warning as it comes into Marion County, let's see, it would be 45 miles an hour. So will you do me a favor, Leah? And, oh, I already got 45. I just wanted to give folks in Salem a real clear heads up on when this reaches you, because we had a weak tornado hit Salem to around Omega. And that was, a week ago or so, a week ago Friday. And 20 minutes, you've got this leading edge of the storm coming in, including that little inflow notch that I'm watching. So just a heads up, Omega would be a little farther to the northeast. Marion County, we got your back. We're still watching this. And even though at 8 o'clock, as we kind of bow out, if there are any new tornado warnings, we'll come in right away and be there for you. But about 20 minutes, just be inside, be away from windows, because you do have a severe thunderstorm warning going. We still have tornado warning going up to the north in Bond County. Don't see anything real significant there. It's all radar indicated rotation. If I switch over to the Doppler winds to try and pinpoint it, I don't even see real significant little notches, so that's really good news. If you're getting hit in Greenville, heavy rain in Sorrento, I don't see anything real significant as far as rotation goes. Threat for some damaging winds there, yes. Probably not so much hail, or if you do have hail, it's quarter size or smaller. So that's going to head towards Vandalia, and we'll obviously monitor it just in case it flares up. But timing-wise on that, in Vandalia, it's about 18 minutes. So bottom line is I'm seeing less organization along this line, which is really good news. It's weakening. That's what our forecast called for, that as the line moved farther east, the sun was down, it's going to start to weaken, and we're starting to see that. That said, we still have the threat for some damaging winds, and we're still going to have to watch all along the leading edge line for any kind of circulations that develop that can create a tornado. Here it is. This is it. Anywhere along that line. So, Sparta, you're now in the clear. And you know what? There's a lot of towns I haven't mentioned. I apologize. I've really been trying to focus on where there's rotation, where there's tornado, where there's high-end winds. So if I wasn't mentioning your town, that's probably a good thing. And then Leah will draw my attention to where we do start to see some of those storms, like when we were focused on the storm in the metro, and then boom, we were starting to hear of rotation near Hillsborough and then Peevely. And so that's again why it takes a team. But if there's, in an area that like Festus and Farmington, and I haven't mentioned you, that's a really good thing. However, we're going to watch this line as it moves through Centralia, Vandalia, Salem as well, and moves eventually out of our coverage area. It's 7:54 right now. I'm not sure what the programming is coming up on at 8 o'clock, but you're going to get it. And what we'll do is we'll be in the First Alert Weather Center monitoring. And so if there is any kind of new warnings that need your attention, we're on the air like that and make sure that you get the warning. Right now, this squall line's looking a little less organized, which is good news, but doesn't mean we're done. Still have some warnings to get through. And here's another good news. Is that Fayette County that just came out?
This one, yeah, for Fayette County, severe thunderstorm warning. And it looks like they're also going to allow the tornado warning in Macoupin and Madison to expire.
Yep.
So good news there.
Really good news. And so here's Fayette County, Vandalia. So what I saw was yellow box here, not an extension of the red box. And that was what I was just analyzing there in Bond County and said, hey, I'm not seeing anything. They aren't either. So this is severe thunderstorm warning, still a tornado possible because we have to watch that leading edge. We'll be monitoring it. And then this one here out of Macoupin County going to Montgomery, severe thunderstorm. So basically what's happening is all these red boxes are just going to go away. The tornado threat has lowered, but all these yellow boxes representing severe thunderstorm warnings are still going to continue. And so what you want to do is when this does come into your neighborhood, whether we're on TV or not, and it's just a severe thunderstorm warning, just be inside, be away from windows. Have us on Channel 4, have the KMOV weather app, because if we do get another warning, tornado warning that is, we would be on right away and we would let you know about it. But this is really good news that we're seeing significant weakening along the leading edge of this line. We've had quite a bit of rain, hail earlier, and some reports of damage. The Baldwin Pool and Park and Rec Center, the points at Baldwin, thank you. And that's their indoor pool. That had some significant damage. But again, I don't know if that's straight line wind or hail or maybe a combination of both. The tornado warning that started in the metro, 141, was basically Valley Park, 141 and 44. And we haven't heard of any, we've heard of power outages, but no significant damage. That's great news. If there was a significant tornado, we would have heard of it by now. So we have heard some reports of damage in Sullivan, Hillsborough, Peevely, and News 4's John Kipper is out in storm mode coverage right now. And John, if you can hear me, have you seen any kind of damage?
Yes, so we are right by Interstate I-55 right now, and just to my right, we're actually trying to get a spot to get our camera on it. There is an overturned semi right up the interstate, so traffic is massively slowed near the Peevely area, both directions, but especially south. We got caught up with it, then we turned back around to try to get some shots of this. So we're hoping to give that to you guys before too long, but there was an RV about maybe 100 yards in front of it that did not look like it flipped, but it crashed, and then the semi, it looks to be on its side right now. So that's what we're seeing right now, just off the interstate.
Also looks like something hanging from that billboard, so maybe it got ripped.
Yes, yep, that's a good point too. That is kind of the best angle at it. Billboard kind of falling apart, looks like it did rip. And just entering this little business park that we're in, There was also a downed tree, so this spot definitely got hit pretty hard a little bit ago, because there's all different areas of damage that we can see. Nothing too serious outside of that semi overturned.
Yeah, and I hope
obviously.
the trucker's okay. And I'm sure, especially by now, the emergency personnel are on the scene and taking care of him or her. You know, there's damage. There's damage. And it sounds like that Hillsborough, the Peevely, parts of Sullivan, those are some areas where there's some damage. And we may find out that there's some trees down here and there. I think after a night where we were in a level 3 out of 5 severe risk, that we had a tornado watch, that we had all these warnings, you look back and you say, you know what, I think we got through that kind of okay. I hope I'm not, you know, jumping the gun here, but I do think that so far, with all the threat that led up to this line moving on through, that we haven't heard of any real significant serious damage. That's not to downplay the fact that there has been damage, and I don't want to downplay that, because there's going to be some people cutting up trees, there's going to overturn semi, and you know, we're going to find out maybe some more damage that we don't even know about yet. But as this line came through, I think there was potential for even worse damage. Again, coming up here very shortly, you're going to have programming at 8 o'clock, and if there's any new tornado warnings, we will jump in and let you know about it. But those red boxes are going to go away, and you'll see they have not been extended, and that's why there's all these yellow boxes. Red is a tornado warning, yellow is a severe thunderstorm warning. So if we get any new red boxes, tornado warnings, we will jump in immediately, let you know about it, and make sure that you're aware. So especially for our friends that are getting hit now in Centralia, our friends who had a weak tornado hit in Salem last week, by the way, to Omega, Marion County, and anywhere here to the east, we have your back, we have you covered. We will jump in if we get any new tornado warnings. In the meantime, thank you for watching First Alert Storm Mode coverage. Hope you have a safe night. Oh boy, these. Yeah, what's up? What do you need? Me too. Yeah.